Hello and welcome to LNAudioBooks. Please subscribe and leave your suggestions and favorite novels on this channel. Thank you so much, and please enjoy the light novel. Volume 9 of Wrong Way of Using Healing Magic. When I woke up, right in front of my eyes and nose was an object that looked like a black ball of fur. I don't know what I'm saying, but there really is a black ball of fur right in front of me, and it's tickling the tip of my nose. Is this the rescue's quarters? I look out the window and it still looks light, but why am I here? I'm sure I've been doing everything I can to get the knights away from the fireballs falling from the sky during the battle against the Demon King's army. But maybe I've fainted again? Little by little, as I was going through my memories, the black ball of fur in front of me twitched, 2 ears stood up and red eyes turned towards me. Cool. Ah, Kukuru. It's you, isn't it? No wonder I felt so ticklish. What I thought was a black ball of fur was Kukuru, the leader's pet noir rabbit. He put his face to my cheek and rubbed it with a friendly gesture. As always, he is a demonic, deceptive creature. I get up from my bed, stroking Kukuru, and find something black lying on the floor. Looking closely, I saw that it was an owl rolling its eyes. Nia. Huh? Why am I on the floor? That's what I want to hear. Why was Nia, who had transformed into an owl, sleeping on the floor? She woke up at the sound of my voice, found Kukuru on my shoulder, and spread her wings wide as if in anger. You did this. The one who pushed me out of bed. Nia flaps her wings and pushes Kukuru out of the way, landing on my shoulder. As a bystander, I have no idea what is going on. So you were sleeping in bed and Kukuru knocked you out? Phew. Well, calm down. Anyway, Nia. I know you're in the rescue quarters here, but why am I here? What about the leader? Is everyone okay? Nia, who is threatening Kukuru, who has turned to the opposite shoulder, asks her what is happening now. You were asleep for 3 days after the battle. The moment after that attack from the sky was over, you collapsed. Well, I remember that much too. So, everyone is. All the rescues are fine. Rose was seriously injured in the fight with Nero, but somehow she is still alive and well. But you were the only one who was too tired to wake up right away, so they brought you here. I see. By the way, the only members of the group who came back were me and Ferrum. The others are on the battlefield treating the wounded. Rose is seriously injured. Hey? I thought I wouldn't be unscathed against Nero Argentsov. Though. But from the way Nia was talking, I'm glad to see she's doing well. I'm sure she's still taking the initiative as a rescue. It's not just the fatigue that has put me back here, though I should be back there too. As I was getting out of bed, the door to my room was opened and a dark-haired boy named Nak came in. He shouted in surprise at me as I stepped off the bed. Usato-san. You're awake. Yeah, Nak. I'm home. Welcome back. I finally get up, somewhat relieved to see Nak greeting me cheerfully. You were at the castle while we were away. Yes. I've been helping out with various things. When I heard that Usato-san had returned after the battle, I came back here. I see. I'm so glad I made it back here alive. It's like my home in this world. As I think about this, Nak looks as if he has remembered something, and he looks huffing and puffing. Yes, Amako-san and her friends are just preparing a meal for us. Amako is? Yes. It seems that she saw Usato-san wake up in her premonition, and just now, she and Suzune-san went to make a meal. What? Senpai's here too. It is true that I was hungry, but I didn't think that my senpai was here. No, though I was happy to see that he was safe. Kazuki is here too. Kazuki too. Then we'd better get downstairs as soon as possible. Nia, Nak, would you mind waiting downstairs for me to change? Yes. Nak, let's go. Oh, yes. Nak follows Nia out the door with a flutter of his wings. I put down Kukuru from my shoulder and went to change clothes. Suddenly I saw a group uniform hanging on the wall. I had Rose fix my troop uniform, but because of the battle it got dirty again and I got a lot of small scratches and things like that. It's a shame, too. There are some people I couldn't help. But I'm still Q. I huff at Kukuru, who tilts his little head and looks up at me, and pat him again. And I remember the leader who saved me in the middle of the battle, when Nero Argents was about to finish me off. Kukuru, your master is still a great woman. What you have lost will never come back. I'm not going to stop there, even though I feel helpless and regretful. Even after the battle is over, it doesn't mean that the struggle against the Demon King's army is over. After getting dressed, I went downstairs to find that the lower floor was more crowded than I had expected. Kazuki, Nak, Ferrum, and Nia were sitting on the chairs at the long table where the tough guys usually sit, while Senpai and Amako were standing and serving dishes and food. It was around noon at that time of the day? The time of day is probably around midday. Oh, Usato-kun. You've come down. Senpai. Noticing us, Senpai smiles like a flower and beckons us over. I'm glad to see that both Senpai and Kazuki seem to be doing well. With relief, as I try to sit down in the empty seat next to Kazuki, Amako approaches me. I'm home. Amako. Yeah, welcome back. Usato. I take the bowl of bread she's holding and talk to her. I'm not sure if she was looking after me when I passed out or not. When I saw Amako's sleepy eyes, I guessed it, so I lightly touched her shoulder and cast a healing spell on her. Did I make you worry? No. I trusted that Usato would be fine. I see. But thank you. Once I thanked her firmly, Amako looked away slightly and gave me a troubled look. There's something I want to talk to you about later. Something you want to talk about? Yeah. Okay. When Amako replies, she and Senpai go back towards the kitchen. What is it? It seemed to be a thought, but was it something to do with foreknowledge? It was somewhat like the time in the land of the wicked dragons and beastmen, though. No, we'll talk about it later, for now let's sit down. While placing the bowl of bread on the table, I greet Kazuki next to me. Good morning. Kazuki. Good morning. You're awake at last. Usato. At any rate, after exchanging reunion greetings with Kazuki, I was thirsty, so I took a sip of the water at hand, and saw Ferrum, who was sitting diagonally in front of me, glaring at me in a rather unfaithful manner. Finally, you're awake. You've been sleeping too long. You. Have I been sleeping that long? 3 days is a lot of sleep. I didn't want to pass out at all. I laughed bitterly, and Nia, who was leaning her elbows on the table next to Ferrum, spoke up. It's not the first time he's fainted, you know. He fainted and collapsed at least 3 or 4 times in the course of his travels. What, are you kidding me? Ferrum looks at me delicately and is incredulous. No, well, I admit that I faint every time there's an incident. And when I thought about it, I looked at Ferrum and remembered something that concerned me throughout the fight. Oh, yeah. What? I'm glad I was able to unassimilate with you, because there was a possibility that I would have stayed like that forever. Ha ha ha. It's hard for me, too, to remain assimilated with Ferrum all the time. It's not that I don't want to be with her, it's just that it must be hard for both of us to be in our group clothes all the time and to be with each other 24/7. When I say this somewhat jokingly, Ferrum, who is extremely upset, glares at me even more. I too was so excited to get away from you, too. First of all, don't forget that my magic just likes you. Yeah. Sorry about that. It wasn't a good idea to make fun of her, because it was her own magic. And in Ferrum's case, unlike me, she might have been taking it very seriously. I don't know what Ferrum thought of my apology, but she starts to groan with her head in her hands. Ugh. Pfft, you're not being honest. Shut up. I'm kind of grinning and talking to her, and I'll leave Ferrum to Nia. Feeling somewhat hungry, I was looking at the food on the table when this time Kazuki approached me. Looks like we both made it home safely, hey? Yes, we did. It was really hard, but... yeah, it's strange that we're doing this now. How many times have I almost died? When I stalled Nero Argent's, I didn't feel like living. You got it for Kazuki and Senpai, right? The hero's weapon. Yeah. I'm a gauntlet case like Usato, and Senpai became a katana. Senpai is a katana, hey? Well, yes, in a way it is as expected. In fact, I had a feeling that Senpai would be a weapon with a cool image, like a sword or chain sickle. Combined with Blitz, she looks like a fighter. When Kazuki says he has a gauntlet similar to mine, could it be the wristband-like thing wrapped around his left wrist? Mine is a bracelet, but it's very different from Kazuki's. When I first used this, I also talked to Shinryu. Falgasama. Falgasama? What did he say? He gave me some advice on how to use it and how to form my mind after. Falgasama has helped me a lot. He must be exhausted from making 2 armor. 2. If I could, I would meet him again and thank him. The end of the battle against the Demon King's army. Nia and Nak told me that the battle was over, but I don't feel that way at all. In fact, it seems as if the situation is not over yet. Kazuki, what's going on in the kingdom of Lingle now? It's not like after the last battle, is it? Yes, it is. The battle was won, but the damage done by that last attack was too much. Now everything is moving so fast that there is not enough time to celebrate the victory. Are the injured knights still on that battlefield? Kazuki nodded at my words. The reason why all the rescues are not here is because they are treating the injured people in the battlefield. Probably Jurna and the others who came in extra numbers will have joined them, so if it's true, I should probably head there too, now that I've woken up from my stupor. Or rather, if I can go, I want to head there right away. I'm not the only one who was sent back to the Lingual Kingdom because I fainted, am I? Yet. It seems to be the same reason why we, the heroes, were sent back here. Kazuki and Senpai. I couldn't predict that much. If the two heroes are involved, it might be something serious. Sorry for the wait. I've brought the food. It's mostly leftovers, though. As I was thinking this, Senpai and Amako appeared from the kitchen carrying plates with food on them. When Kazuki saw them, his stern expression relaxed. Now that the food is served, let's talk about it later. You're hungry, aren't you, Yusato? Sure, I haven't eaten anything in 3 days. Whatever we're going to do, we have to get back in shape first. Amako sits next to me, and I sit in front of her, and she smiles at me as usual. I'm really glad you're awake. Haha, you're overreacting. You're not overreacting. I'd be nothing without you, you know. What do you mean you'd be? Nothing? I'm not sure if she's being serious or joking, but I know she's worried about me, so I'll take that as a yes. Don't take yourself too lightly, Yusato. What? I'm sure everyone is worried about you. Including all of us here. Even Senpai, who is usually playful, is decisive when she has to be. I guess that's why I never miss her. Hey! Why are you sitting next to me? As I was thinking about this, Ferrum was talking to Senpai sitting next to her with a troublesome look on her face. For a moment, she reacted with a puzzled look, but soon her face became full of confidence. I've always wanted to talk to you. It's the first time we've talked. Face to face, isn't it? My name is Suzune. Do you mind if I touch your horns or something? How can you talk to someone who almost killed you in a normal way? Well, that's all in the past now. If you're a friend of Yusato's, you're a friend of mine. I know that's not right, even though I know that. You've never talked to me properly. Oh, it's the usual Senpai. No, if there's no rut, I'm happy for her, but Senpai is being too aggressive and Ferrum is being pushed. I would love to be friends with it under a boxy silver-haired brown demon race or something. Ferrum. Let's make friends with me. Whoa. Yusato, help. I can't understand a word you're saying. But what about Kazuki? I'm sure he was almost killed by the Black Knight as well. He lowered the hand he was holding to his chin and spoke to Kazuki, who was watching the exchange between Ferrum and his senpai next to him. Kazuki is about Ferrum. I'd be lying if I said I didn't have feelings for her. Kazuki's gaze turns to Ferrum. When I see the way you're fitting in here like this, I know you're not as horrible as you were then. Yes, you're right. Even from my point of view, she's changed. Besides, you worked to help Yusato in this battle, didn't you? Then I don't have anything to worry about. If Kazuki says so, it's okay. With a sense of relief, I looked at Ferrum and Senpai, and while I was looking away, Ferrum had grabbed onto the chair where Nia was sitting. Nia, exchange seats. I don't want to get involved with this girl. That's him. She's a pain in the ass, just like Yururu. No. You'll sit there as a sacrifice to Suzune. You. Nia clings to her seat holding onto dear life, and Ferrum tries to take the chair from her. When Senpai sees them, her expression lights up as if she has had a flash of inspiration. Ferrum, if it's my seat, it's okay to exchange it. Nia, you're coming down with me. Hurrah! A noisy and joyful scene, unrelated to the battle. The smiling Senpai and the desperate faces of Ferrum and Nia. Amako, Kazuki and Nak look at these girls with a wry smile. I looked around at them once more, and finally, with a sense of relief, I reached for my first meal in 3 days. After we finished eating, me, Senpai, Kazuki, Nia and Ferrum moved outside to the training area. The reason for the training ground is that while Amako and Nak were cleaning up the dishes, we were shown the armor of the two heroes as we talked about what we were going to do. You haven't even come home, Blurren. As I look at the empty stables and mutter this, Nia, who was nearby, speaks to me. They say he's still over there because he's so powerful. I wonder if he'll cause trouble for the people over there. Don't worry about it. Well, it's all right, isn't it? When I arrived at the training ground after visiting the stables, I first heard from Kazuki and his senpai why I was sent back to the kingdom first. The reason we were sent back here hasn't been revealed yet, you know. The king has only told us to rest in case things go wrong. When you say it hasn't been revealed, you mean? Kazuki nodded his head at the words of senpai. As if to prepare for a situation. Is it like Lloyd-sama brought us back here in anticipation of what happens next? I think it was probably a decision to keep us from worrying about the battle that just ended. I see. I understand that, but why did Nia and Ferrum come back? I asked Nia and Ferrum, who came to the training ground with me, and Nia answers me. Rose said she was going to accompany me. That's it. She's a capable woman, she's got to have an idea, doesn't she? Well, she's not the kind of person who makes decisions without thinking. I do think about it, though, and sometimes I'm unreasonable. I guess we'll just have to wait until we hear from the kingdom now. Right. The castle is also busy dealing with the aftermath of the war, so it's not a situation where you can get an audience right away. After the war, they're probably busy processing communications to the various kingdoms, operating supplies, and so on. The knights are also out, so they are likely to be genuinely understaffed. Oh, and speaking of knights. I heard that Leona-san is coming over here, but... In the middle of the battle, Myorak's hero, Leona-san, came to the rescue. If she is coming here, I should go and tell her thank you right away, I thought, and Senpai answered me. Oh, she's at the castle now. I was talking to the people at the castle when I came here, but I think I can see her if I go. Then I'll have to say hello to her when I get to the castle. When we do, shall we take Nia and Amako with us? I'd really like to have Arc-san with me, but I don't know if he's back this way. But, Sato-kun. The connections you've made in this world are tremendous. No, it's not. When I was about to say no, I saw a lot of faces in my mind. I have known people like Hafa, Eva, Lucas, and others who are so powerful that the word strong is not enough, so I nodded to Senpai while breaking out in a cold sweat. Well, I'm aware of it. It's true that his friendships and normal ones seem to be few and far between. You could say that. And don't forget that you're in the unusual category too, right? I stare at Ferrum and Nia, who are nodding, sighing, and speaking to Senpai. The best part of it, though, is that you're my Senpai. What do you mean by that? I smile back at Senpai, who tilts her head with a smile on her face. You are the most characterful. You're the best by far. That's not something you say with a smile, is it? Yes, you have a point. Even Kazuki-kun. Her cheeks relax as Kazuki smiles funny. In case you are wondering, Eva is in the same league as her senpai. The impact when I first met her was so strong that I still remember it. The Norn-sama, Leona-san, Kanoko-san and others I met afterwards were also considerable, though. Now that we've digressed, I think it's time for me and Kazuki-kun to show you the armor of the hero. I guess so. Kazuki nods at Senpai's words. Nia, reacting to the armor of the heroes, transforms into an owl and jumps on my shoulder. Apparently, she wants to see it up close. The armor of the brave, After all, Nia is also concerned about it. Of course not. Unlike you, she has unique abilities. My gauntlet has abilities, too. It's not as if there was no such thing. It's just a hard gauntlet that doesn't allow magic to pass through. That's true, but... a gauntlet that is just hard enough to be impervious to magic, sorcery and all kinds of things. The ability is plain, but I like it, so it's not a problem for me. It's a great thing that you can do with no risk of magic outbursts, you know. I think it's just that you're crazy. I wonder how you ended up fighting the way you are now. Nia gives a small sigh and her cheeks twitch as she wonders if that's as far as it goes. As we are talking, Kazuki steps out into the middle of the training area. Apparently, he'll be the first to show off his armor. Let's start with me. Yusato, I'm going to do a little magic here, if that's okay. Yeah, it's fine. Okay. He nodded and held his left hand up in front of him, as if to remind himself of something. Then the wristband on his wrist was enveloped in light, and in the next moment it had transformed into a silver gauntlet. A pulsating glow emanated from the scaly ripples carved into it, and it seemed to take on a slightly sharper and more aggressive shape than my own. My armor is a gauntlet case that encourages the manipulation of magic. It allows me to handle light magic as danger-free magic, and it also allows me to strengthen my system. Having said that, Kazuki, who created the magic bullet, touches it with his right hand, which is not caged. As he grips and crushes it like a softball, could it be possible to adjust its hardness and elasticity? As I looked at his magic and pondered this, Kazuki lightly released a magic bullet held in his right hand towards me. Here. Oh. Quickly, he deploys his right arm to catch it. What returned was the feel of a resilient ball. Fearfully, when I touched it with my left hand, the light system magic did not disappear and I could touch it normally. Is it really magic power, this? I want to touch it too. Nia on his shoulder is also interested, and when he gets down to his palms, he starts poking them with his wings, as if he's drinking. I notice that Ferrum is also looking at my hand, blinking his eyes. Wow! I don't think it's magic if you are just touching it. It's a simplified version of light magic that makes anything you touch disappear? As she spits out an exclamation of admiration, the magic bullet on her palm returns to Kazuki. Kazuki nimbly catches the magic bullet with a snap and makes it float in the palm of his gauntlet. I've had to worry about a lot of things when using this magic, but with this Kagam, I don't have to worry about that. Wow, it's like a rubber ball. Haha, I realized that later, but I can also give hardness and elasticity to magic bullets like now, so I guess I can apply this to something too. So saying, Kazuki slams the magic bullet to the ground and bounces it. I've never thought of adding elasticity to the magic bullet itself. Kazuki, is it your basket hand's ability to make magic bullets elastic? No, this is a kind of benefit from the assistance of magical manipulation. It's more like weaving magic into a sphere. Weave the magic power in. Weaving in is only a metaphor, and in reality it is probably a technique that is achieved through meticulous manipulation of magic. I wonder if I could do it too? He takes a small deep breath as he puts his hand to his chin and stares at the magic bullet, catching it with a snap as it rebounds from the ground. And Kazuki begins to pour magic power into the magic bullet floating in his palm. The magic bullets that were poured in and converged became more and more luminous. This is it. As Kazuki mutters this, the magic power fizzles into the air as the magic bullet in his palm is squeezed. The residue of magic power overflows from the pattern on Gauntlet's hand as if smoke is releasing heat. It's a great way to make sure you are getting the most out of your money. It's still difficult to adjust the output, and after using it, the function of the gauntlets will be restricted for a while, though. No, it still felt pretty bad, but... yeah, it's really dangerous, to be honest. At least not in the presence of allies. In the event that you have any questions regarding where and the best way to get in touch with us, please do not hesitate to contact us. If at all possible, I can only hope that he doesn't have any opponents who would use his systemic enhancement. Well then, I guess that's the end of my introduction. Yab. Well then, I guess it's my turn next. Senpai stepped forward to replace Kazuki. On her left wrist is a sword of yellow and black ribbon, and when it glows as it did on Kazuki's, it reveals a sword in a scabbard. Clutching the scabbard with his left hand, the senpai turns to me with a smile that cannot hide his happiness. Mine is a sword. It's a Japanese sword. I understand that you are happy, so please calm down a little. How happy are you? I know how you feel. But... I like my current gauntlets, but I also like swords. I didn't intend to pick up a weapon that could hurt people, so it took the form of a gauntlet, but if I hadn't been a healing wizard in the rescue squad, it would have taken the form of a sword like my senpai. Nya. If my armor was not a gauntlet, but a sword. It heals the person you cut. Or maybe a sword that only gives pain. I haven't told you anything yet. What kind of sword only gives pain to the opponent? Is that it? Is it the sword version of the healing punch? Either way, I don't know how to handle a sword, so I'll probably just use it as a blunt instrument while it's in its sheath. Its name is Inumaru. Senpai, who spoke proudly, turned back to herself and looked at the sword closely. The black scabbard has a lightning-like pattern engraved on the tsuba. It's the first time I've seen a real sword, but it's more massive than I expected. Moreover, the name Inumaru is... I see, so you put Inuyagami-senpai's dog, on top of it. Did you go for a daring simplicity? Do you understand? Do you get it? Yes, of course. I like the simplicity of it. I nodded my head in agreement. If you give it an elaborate name, you might forget it later on. How do you know that? I know it's Lame. Other than that, I don't know. Nia and Ferrum, who are puzzled by the exchange between me and Senpai, are muttering something, but let's concentrate on talking with Senpai for now. Now, it seems that he will teach us the abilities of the hero's armor, the Inumaru. A little further away from us, Senpai put her hand on the hilt and pulled out the sword from the scabbard. The blade of the sword, which has a pale yellow light and a wet sheen, is exposed. An electric shock then gushes from the blade to the hilt, flowing into Senpai's body and electrifying it as it is. My sword's main abilities are to assist with magical power output, enhance sharpness, and provide additional attacks with electric shocks. By the way, I'm in what used to be called Thunder Beast mode. If I had to name it, I would call it Thunder Beast Mode 2. When you say Thunder Beast Mode 2, you mean that the operation has not only been improved, but also genuinely strengthened. It used to be very violent, but now it's much calmer. Yes, it is. Before, the Thunder Beast mode wasted a lot of electricity and the duration was extremely short. That's what this sword has solved. Senpai swung her sword lightly, and just like that, she instantly scuttled out of sight. I managed to follow her with my eyes, but her speed has increased and she is more difficult to catch. Senpai's figure, which is moving in a slow and steady manner as if stepping on a step, gives the illusion that it is an alter ego. Amazing. Wow. I'm going to pull it off here. Humans can move this fast, can't they? Yes, we can. It's nothing compared to me. You're human, but you're not in the human category, are you? Feeling unaccountable to Nia, who turned her gaze away from me with a subtle expression, I returned my gaze to Senpai, who glided to her original position and landed on her feet. Having dispelled the sword and scattered the electric shocks, Senpai slowly sheathed the sword while taking Zanshin. With a mindlessly smug look on her face, she calls out to her after she has delivered the sword. Senpai. What's that? In case you are wondering, I'm the type of person who thrives on praise. What? Well, it was cool. Why are you embarrassed when you're the one who prompted me to praise you? Why are you making me embarrassed too? I cough and talk to her to get her mind off it. That said, you've practiced, haven't you? Yes. Wow, what a great smile. After returning the sword to its ribbon state in a good mood, Senpai comes back to us. Well, next is Yusato-kun, isn't it? What? Me? Yes, yes. But you both know the characteristics of my gauntlet, don't you? Oh, no. What I want to know is... Senpai, her eyes blazing, broke off and then opened her mouth. I'm talking about the black and white Yusato-kun I saw on the battlefield. Black and white? Oh, you mean that? I remember that time you said, I'll look forward to it later. I had forgotten. I forgot all about it, but I didn't think I'd have to explain it here and now. After being shown the armor of the hero by Inugami-senpai and Kazuki, I was asked by senpai to show me the state in which I was assimilated with Ferrum. I knew that senpai would be interested in me in that form, but you know. It's... I glanced at Ferrum and got a jittery look back. Ferrum doesn't seem to like being in that state, and I don't want to force her. Ah, right. Ferrum, can I have just my arm? What about? What do you mean, just my arm? She tilts her head, and I raise my left arm. Well, it's like, you can partially attach your magic to my arm. If only in the form of... Okay, then, please. Ferrum, who somehow became miffed, extends dark system black magic from his palm to my left arm, and it turns into a sharply shaped gauntlet, similar to the one at the time of the war, covering me up to my elbow. Yes. A sharp black gauntlet, reminiscent of the Black Knights of old, contrasting with the silver gauntlet on my right. When senpai saw the change in my left arm, she tilted her head with a smile on his face. Whoa, Yusato. What's going on with that? Will we now be borrowing the magic of Ferrum's dark magic? The rest can be done this way. The black gauntlet covering my left arm is transformed into a sword that seems to extend from my forearm. The sword is shown to the two heroes, extended with a light shuffling sound. It can change its shape like a sword. You can do that too? That's cool. Feeling better about Kazuki, who nodded in admiration, I decided to explain the techniques that could be activated in this state. Humph, by the way, the technique to be unleashed with this is the darn Healing Burst Slash. Isn't that right, Yusato? Ebuletin --. Isn't that right? Yes. Nia corrected me with a bite. Stared at by her cold eyes, I had no choice but to nod meekly, my shoulders drooping. I knew I should have used Dark Sword, Healing Raging Wave. For now, it's like this. Wait a. In the event that you've got a lot more than one, you'll be able to get a lot more. Yusato-kun. What is the meaning of this? Yeah, no, so it's like I'm borrowing Ferrum's magic. You can't normally borrow someone else's magic, can you? That's a fair question. Nia nod on my shoulder. You're right, I didn't explain it well enough. As Ferrum lived here, her dark magic trait changed from reversal to the ability to assimilate. And by assimilation, I mean merging with others? Assimilation? That's how I was able to borrow Ferrum's power. Yugu? Robot? Henkei. The first thing that comes out of that phrase is the genre of anime that senpai was watching in the original world. No, it's not a robot or anything like that, it's just that Ferrum assimilates with me so that I can use my abilities. No, wait, I know. I know that's the case, but it's more like an instinct, or a refusal of the brain to understand. How should I put it? As I was twisting my head around senpai holding her head, Ferrum walked up to me, perhaps unable to watch. When I looked at her face, I saw that her eyes were glazed over and her mouth was in a heap, and she looked unhappy as I could tell. Ferrum. Wouldn't it be quicker if I showed you in person? Yeah, but I thought you didn't want to. Forget it. Just be quiet. Ferrum told me, taking a small deep breath and closing her eyes. Then her body was sucked into the shadow at her feet, and a black-colored magic overflowed from where the shadow had been. Senpai and Kazuki are surprised when Ferrum disappears before their eyes. The shadow in which Ferrum disappeared moves on the ground like a living thing, and when it enters my shadow, it travels down my legs and covers my body. As I am not wearing a team uniform, my entire body is transformed into a black racing suit, except for the gauntlet on my left arm and the armor on my legs. Assimilation with Ferrum. This is a way of fighting that is made possible by her altered characteristics. It is also a state in which the power of Farum and I can be fully demonstrated. But you'd be surprised what comes out of nowhere. If you look closely, you can see that they are clothed rather than assimilated. For me too, it's heartbreaking to be assimilated out of the blue. There's nothing unpleasant about the sensation, but you have to be prepared. It's quicker this way. Not at all, I can't help it. Farum's voice echoes from inside me. You Sato-kun and Farum, they've combined. Wow, what's going on? For now, I should explain to the two surprised people about my current state. I explain Farum's assimilation dark magic and the benefits of it to Senpai and Kazuki briefly. Oh, I see, so that means that the figure is clothed in Farum's dark magic. Senpai mutters this and looks at me with a stern gaze. I think her gaze is fixed, if not for her mind. What is it? I'm jealous. You Sato-kun. In a way, it's what I expected, but it's not out of jealousy, it's out of tension and I take a step backwards. So you're saying that by merging with Farum, you've become able to handle its power? Yeah, well, it's assimilation to be exact. What happens when you put a messenger Nia-chan on your shoulders, and even the demon Farum is clothed as magic? I have mixed feelings about equipping a girl, but I envy you more than that. She spoke so fast that all I could reply was what? Hey. I knew the tension, but even I couldn't cope with it. Kazuki was watching from the back with a cheery smile on his face, but I couldn't rely on him. So, Farum. Fusion with me. I'm not sure what she means by that, but she pulls away from me and spreads her arms wide, her eyes full of anticipation. Is it a streamlined attempt to assimilate with Farum? Well, we all know that Senpai is stronger with dark magic than me, so let's have Farum try it. I can't. Why? She was rejected in a quick attack. While looking at the severely upset Senpai, I ask Farum the question. Farum, why can't you? Because my magical power refuses. Also, Suzune is usually annoying, so it's impossible. What? Senpai. Senpai falls backwards as if blown away by something invisible. I'm sure you've jumped yourself. Or rather, why are you so eager to do the Gagkalam move? When I quickly ran over to her and hugged her up, Senpai smiled and stood up, her legs shaking. Foo, this won't break my heart. So I'm just going to have to break the walls of Farum's mind. No, let me open my heart in a normal way. The nickname of the indomitable Suzune is not justified. When did you get called that? Farum, who is assimilated with me, and Nia, who is on my shoulder, are both pulling away. Suzune, you're not a hero, you're just a disappointing person. What the hell is this guy? Senpai was undaunted by these two words. Her eyes lit up when she saw the gauntlet on my left arm and the leg armor on both feet as she crowded towards me. Your legs and your left arm. It looks just like the Black Knight's. Yes, it does. Oh, by the way, Farum. Did you decide on this shape? When I ask Farum inside, she replies without seeming particularly lost. No, it just came about on its own. Maybe the Black Knight's form made a strong impression on me? It's nothing personal. I see. Certainly, the period of time they were clothed seems to be longer in the form of Black Knights. Does it mean that maybe, over the course of her life in the rescue squad, this form of armor might gradually change? That's something I'd like to see. She wears the armor of a Black Knight who was once an enemy of. That's a truly fiery development. Yusato. I don't understand a word he's saying. I get it. And then I realized, if you ask me. In any case, in order to reduce his tension, I explained to him that my current appearance was not intentional, but an accident. No, you see, even for me and Farum, we did not expect this appearance. We were in the middle of a fight with Koga, and we had to fight in this state of mind, so it was like an accident. So it's not intentional, but an unexpected appearance. No. The more you explain, the more romantic attributes you add to me. I want to deny it, but I'm embarrassed that I'm the one who has to convince. Anyway. I'll tell you what we can do now. Let's move on to explaining our capabilities before we are exposed to any more shame. In order to avoid any danger, I move away from Senpai and Kazuki. First of all, the main ability is the ability to change the shape of the magic power of dark magic, right? When it comes to the shape of magic, that is, like the Black Knight. Yes. For example. Farum. Okay. When I call out to Farum, my left arm, which is covered by a dark magic cage, transforms. She transforms it into a weapon several times, including becoming a sword and a shield, and then turns to Senpai and Kazuki. It's like this. On the battlefield, you can ride on Bluren's back and make his armor. Well, to some extent, if you recognize that it's an ability that can be flexible in form, you'll be fine. Transformation. That can be used in all aspects. It's different from mine and Kazuki's. It's or rather your own, way of fighting. It's not that big of a deal. Most of the time, you can't handle it well, so it ends up being a fist. Rather, I think it would be more convenient for me to transform it into a shield, a hammer, or a club, rather than a sword or something. It would be somewhat easier on me. Oh, and I can now perform magic outbursts with my whole body. Whole body? Oh, I'd better add this. They'll think I'm doing something reckless again. The state of being assimilated by dark magic is the same as when you are wearing this gauntlet, so no matter how much magic power you unleash, I myself will not be hurt. As a test, I aim at a nearby tree and unleash a healing flying fist with his left arm. A fist-sized shockwave is released from the black Kagot with a popping sound, striking the tree. Senpai and Kazuki return their gaze from the small swaying tree to Senpai and Kazuki. After that, you can now activate it with the sole of your foot to increase your jumping power or use it for acceleration. That means you can do boosting moves, right? I don't know, but please don't compare me to a robot. I know I move like I'm supposed to, but I'm too sick to be called a monster, and then treated like a weapon. That second corps commander. Koga used a similar technique, but that was memorized from watching Usato's moves. What? Kazuki, did you say something? I put my hand on my chin and nodded my head at Kazuki, who muttered something like that. I only heard the name Koga, but anything related to that guy is like trouble for me, so I asked him in passing, and Kazuki smiled and waved his hand to the side as if it was nothing. Nah, it's nothing. You don't have to worry about it. Oh, yeah? If it's Koga related, just tell me. Next time I see him, I'll punch him in the face. Oh, yeah. I said with a smile, and Kazuki nodded with a shudder. I've heard that Koga has retreated from the battle, but that's just him. I'm sure he'll stand in front of us again. Maybe he'll be stronger than when he fought me and bare his fangs. I don't know for sure, but after 2 fights I have a vague idea of what he's like. That idiot army commander. He's the kind of guy you can punch and he'll punch you back while laughing. Then I'll hit him back, too. I think that's one of the reasons why they target you, because you hit each other. That's true. I'm sure you're right. You can't avoid a fight when you're on the radar of Koga. Whatever role I play, whatever the circumstances, it doesn't matter to him, he'll just smile and threaten everyone around him. Maybe I should be looking for a new way to fight the next battle. What I need now is not a means of attack, but defense. The fight with Nero Argents made me realize that, completely and completely. At the very least, I would have died at least once if not for Nia's resistance spell back then. Don't just prevent it. A defense that relies on the hardness of the cage would be useful, but it would not get through to a superior opponent. If Nero had wanted to, I would have been cut down in an instant. If that is the case, my task from now on will be to search for a means of defense that can be connected to the next move, rather than just catching or playing it off. Magic, with the image of weaving. I raise my right arm, covered by a silver basket hand, and look at my open palm. I continue to focus my consciousness and need magic in a different way than before. Can't I? The magic bullet that covered my hand showed a slight shimmer, but that's all. It was far from the elasticity of Kazuki's magic bullet. Usato, what are you doing? I was wondering if we could make the magic as elastic as Kazuki's. Shonya, who has noticed my actions, the magic of the healing magic that surrounds the basket hand. She looks at it for a few seconds, then looks at me with a frown. What are you going to do with it, make it elastic? I don't have a particular idea, but you could cover the gauntlets when defending to soften the impact, or you could also use a healing counterattack palm to make the opponent cower. I'm sure you'll be able to find something that works for you. Can you do that? To these words, I looked at my own gauntlet once and nodded firmly. It's not impossible. Yes. I'll help you with that. I'm sure I'm better at handling magic than you are. Thanks. All I can do is keep practicing steadily so that I can eventually do this with my whole arm. After removing the magic from the gauntlet, I clench my open palm. If I can master this technique, I should be able to make a difference in my own movements. I think we've decided what we're going to do. I still can't predict what will happen next. But I do know that I can't live in peace and quiet forever. Then I have to find out what I can do now and prepare for it. Senpai, what's wrong? I don't know why Senpai is groaning nearby. Senpai, who looked up at my voice, had an extremely serious expression. What is your name in that form, Usato-kun? By the way, you didn't decide on a name. Yes. Then let's decide now. It's inconvenient not to have a name. It's true, it's inconvenient without a name. I nodded at Senpai's words, put my hand on my chin, and tried to think of a name for my current appearance. Black Knight. Dark Magic. Black, group uniform. White. White-black. How about white and black mode? Oh, I like that. I put polar bears and black bears together to make a bear connection, which is pretty good, right? Senpai nodded her head in admiration. I'm going to use that name from now on. No. Why not? No. It's too fluffy. If you're going to do that, I'd rather be in Black Knight mode. I couldn't help but shout at the strong denial coming from my shoulders and inside. Due to the opposition of Nia and Ferrum, who strongly refused, and Kazuki, who softly uttered I don't think that's, the name Shirokuro mode was rejected without a name. Kazuki's sober rejection of the name left me and my senpai almost heartbroken. After senpai and Kazuki went back to the castle, it was me, Nak, Nia, Ferrum and Amako who were in the rescue squad. When the sun was setting and it was getting dark outside, I sat down on a chair in the dining room after dinner and practiced creating the elastic magic that Kazuki had shown me. The practice was not that exaggerated, but rather a rather simple one of manipulating the density of the magic power that floated in my palms. They were practicing this with the help of Nia, but... No, I can't do it anymore. It's been less than 5 minutes. After a few minutes of practice, I was given a drubbing. The magic that surrounds my right hand just flickers and shows no signs of changing. You can't do it without me. I've seen a bit of it and I know that Kazuki's magical manipulation is not something that can be learned with a lot of practice. Magic manipulation. To begin with, when they can manipulate the formless magical hardness of light, they must be using different senses to handle magic than we do. Kazuki once said that he handles magic with natural movements, as if he were handling his hands. In other words, for Kazuki, the magic power is the same as the hand that he usually moves. It's easy to express in words, but it's not so easy to do in practice. But... You can't do it by yourself, but with that gauntlet you'll never know. Nia pointed to the bracelet on my right arm. A gauntlet, formerly a hero's sword, given to me by Falgasama. In addition to its ridiculous hardness, the gauntlet has the ability to assist magic power. It's not impossible to use that ability to make magic power elastic. So, I should use this gauntlet when I practice, right? That's what I mean. But it's still not easy. So does this mean that even if you learn this technique, you can only handle elastic magic with your right arm? No, wait. What's wrong? How about moving the magic bullets created by the basket hand through my body? When I visited Luxie's for the first time before, I had a mock battle with Hafa. At that time, I tried to move magic from my arms to my legs in order to confirm Hafazan's anticipation of movement with fluctuations in magic power magic vision. At that time, I wasn't particularly conscious of it, but I might be able to make use of that technique. If you decide to do so, you can practice this as well. Yet, what are you going to do again? Just the story of making magic elastic is unrealistic. No, this is something that's not that hard. I spread my palm out in front of Nia and lit up my index finger with magic power. Show Nia, who tilted her head curiously at the sight of it, the transfer of magic power from her index finger to her middle finger via her palm. Wow, you're really handy. You should be able to do this as fast and as quickly as possible. The more you improve this, the more refined the flow of magic power will be, and the more efficient the healing magic will be. Maybe. When she says this confidently, Nia looks at the magic moving from finger to finger in a curious way. When I'm on your shoulder in owl form, I'm channeling my magic in the same way, you know. Oh, really? Thinking back, it was only natural that the principle was the same, since they were sending magic from Nia through my body, into my arms, legs and so on. I'm surprised that you have such basic knowledge. Basic, this. You didn't know. I learned how to handle magic while running. Yet. No, now that I think about it, it's quite a way to learn. As a result, though, thanks to healing magic, I was able to get through that horrible training that I can't even describe in words. Most magicians don't think about training too much because it's enough to pour magic power into the hands that emit the magic from the center of themselves, but for you, it might be an effective training. You can move the magic from your arms to your legs, but ultimately, you want to be able to move it the moment you think about it. As for this, it won't take long. From what I've seen, it's a very smooth transfer of magic from finger to finger. Nia tells me this as I transfer magic power from my index finger to my thumb and from my thumb to my pinky. In the meantime, I'm going to practice this magic power transfer at the same time. Don't get too attached to it, okay? It's like I'm watching you to make sure you don't. So, you're an out-of-control kid. I am. You're worse than that. Oh, I really can't take my eyes off you. My cheeks twitching, Nia sighs and props her elbows on the table. She rests her cheek on the table and looks me straight in the eye. I'm your familiar, you know. I'll still be around after the battle is over. Haha, what if I have to go back to my world? As soon as I said that to myself, I immediately regretted it. I haven't found a way to go back, but if I could, it would mean saying goodbye to the people of this world. She was not surprised to see me upset after I said it, on the contrary, she smiled and stuck her index finger at me. Of course I'm going to follow you. As long as there's an unknown I'm looking for, I'll follow you everywhere. I knew at once that these confident words were not a lie. That's why I couldn't help but smile unconsciously, even though I was taken aback. I think you would really follow me. I told you. I'll be following you for the rest of my life. Surely, you said something like that when you were forced to sign a messenger contract. It wasn't that long ago, but it feels like a long time has passed since that incident with the evil dragon. While remembering what happened a while ago and having such an exchange with Nia, Amako came out from the kitchen. Usato is having it tough. He's been possessed by Nia. Did you hear that? Yes, a little bit. Hey, what do you mean, a little bit? Overhearing Nia's voice, Amako put her apron on the table and sat down across the table from her. Usato. Where are Nak and Ferrum? Nak went back to his room first. Ferrum is it? You're keeping a daily diary, aren't you? She's very diligent. I didn't know she still kept a diary I'm glad to see that she still keeps a diary, even though I recommended it to her. Well, it's probably just complaining about me, but it's still a good thing. So, Amako. Can you tell me your story? Yes. This is what Amako wants to tell me. I'm sure it's not something she's in a hurry to tell me, but from the look on her face as she ponders it, it seems to be complicated. I saw a premonition. While you were asleep. Yes. Then this expression makes sense. But apparently it's not the only thing that's bothering her now. It was the same as my usual prediction until halfway through, but it was a little different. Different. Amako began to tell me and Nia, who tilted her head, about the premonition she had seen. Me and Senpai going on a journey. The past of the Demon King's territory and the heroes in a swing of the sword of the previous generation of heroes. That and the mysterious woman who spoke directly to Amako from the scenery she was seeing with the precognition magic. As far as the first part of the prediction is concerned, you could have guessed what was going to happen. A fox beastman like Amako, with the sword, you know. You've never met her, have you? She didn't say his name, and she disappeared without saying a word to me. Beastman, swords, and precognitive magic. And she looks like Amako's mother, Kanoko. That's about all the information we know. Did you tell the people at the castle about the precognition? Yes. And what about the beastman woman who appeared in your dream? Amako shakes her head at Nia's words. Well, even if she saw it as part of a precognition spell, the beast woman is very uncertain information. If it is bad, the prediction that Amako saw could itself be false. That's why I wanted to talk to Usato. That woman said something incomprehensible, that she was watching me through him, so I thought maybe that was Usato. Me? Why me? I don't think I had anything to do with it, just from what I heard. She said she had seen her through something, and I'm pretty sure I had nothing to do with it. As I tilt my head, Amako awkwardly lowers her gaze at an angle. Because it's Usato. You guys. First of all, let's change the perception that I'm always getting into trouble, shall we? For some reason, even Nia agrees with me, so I deny it. I'm from another world, you know? And the only connections we have are the ones we've had since we came into this world, right? It's a total false accusation. No matter how many places I go, I'm involved in incidents related to the previous generation of heroes, it is indeed something I don't remember. It's impossible to see anything through me in the first place. It is more believable that someone like Master Falga, who can use magic, could have seen it. Well, I'm just saying. You're right, but what about your suspicious glances? How much trouble do they think you're in? After all we've been through, it's not surprising. Anyway, from what I've read, I'm sure we'll be approached soon. Amako was one of those who traveled, wasn't she? Yes. But I didn't recognize any of the other members except Suzune and Kazuki. Is this any way to think about it? Maybe the prediction will come true soon, and until that day we can go on with our lives as usual. Let's finish talking about the prediction and then we'll talk about tomorrow. Tomorrow I am going to see Leona at the castle, do you want to go too, Amako? I really want to go, but I have to help in the shop tomorrow. Tell Leona I said hello when you see her. Yeah, okay. Nia doesn't have to ask, because of course she wants to go. Leona, how was she? You met her on the battlefield, didn't you? She was very reliable. If she hadn't come, I wouldn't have been able to move. Thank you so much for coming. She was so generous to give me that rare stuff, the magic recovery potion. I thought they were expensive. Yes. A lot more than you think. I'd like to know the value of that potion, even though he didn't mention it during the fight. In the first place, potions that work just by drinking them are basically expensive. The potions that restore magic power, which can only be restored naturally, are made in a special process and it is apparently difficult to make a lot of them. I see. Even in the middle of a battle, I didn't know that I had drunk such a rare thing. Thanks to that, I was able to keep moving afterwards, and I really can't thank you enough for that. Anyway, I'll be sure to thank you tomorrow. Then you should get some rest today for tomorrow. You woke up today, so you're not in the best shape, are you? Yes, that's true. But before we rest. Amako, are you going to stay in your dormitory? If you're going home, can I take you home? No, I'm not. I'm staying here today. So you're staying here today, which means you'll be here for the next 3 days until I wake up. I must have really worried you. Once again, I think about it and continue to talk to her. Do you have a place to sleep? Don't worry, we've got bedding in mine and Ferm's room. Amako is small, so it won't take up too much space. Mew. Nia smiles at Amako, who glares at her with an annoyed expression. If I don't have to take her home, I think I'll go to bed early. Nia is right, I just woke up today and I don't really feel like it, so I'll get some sleep and get back into shape. Author's note. Nia is a heroine in a special position. She sits in the closest position of a familiar, so it feels like she doesn't need to ask for more. In addition, it appears that she has a biggest enemy in the mascot sense called Kukuru. The day after I woke up from my fainting spell. Early in the morning, after dropping Amako off at home, I was on my way to the castle with Nia. I've let Senpai and Kazuki know in advance that I'm heading to the castle, so I don't think they can't get in, but the situation is what it is, so if I'm in the way I'm going to leave before I cause any trouble. I wonder if Arc-san will be there. I doubt it. Maybe he's still on the battlefield. When we reach the castle gate, there are knights guarding it, and among them I spot a man with red hair that I recognize. When he noticed us approaching the castle gate, he smiled and waved at us. Yusato Dano. Arc-san. We ran up to him a short distance to check on Arc-san's safety nearby. He had bandages on his head and arms, but other than that, he didn't appear to be injured. They probably pushed some injuries back here. I hold out my hand, which is covered in healing magic, and he responds with a wry smile. Thank you. No, I'm just glad that Arc-san is safe. I'm glad to hear that Yusato Dano is also in good health. I heard that he woke up yesterday. You've heard from Senpai and Kazuki? Nodding at ALC's words, Nia, in her owl state, cowered her shoulders in dismay. Yesterday, finally. And all the while, I was sleeping with a carefree look on my face, you know? I don't know how worried they made me when I suddenly collapsed on the battlefield. Haha, you've done so much good work. It's no wonder you're tired. It's a matter of how you fall. It's really bad for your heart when you turn white and fall down without warning. Oh, I've fallen like that. I remembered collapsing, but had I fainted in such a spectacular way? I didn't even think about what it looked like to the people around me, because it was kind of like I went black without warning. The people around me were in a panic. The knights who were there carried Yusato Dano to the base where Ururu-san and the others were, and he just looked like he had done all he could and fell asleep. I was there when it happened, and it was amazing. There were a lot of people rushing to the scene, including Kazuki Dano and Suzume Dano. It never occurred to me that my fainting would cause such a multifaceted worry. No, it was my fault for falling in a confusing way. When did you come back here, Arc-san? Yesterday, I think. There are many knights who are injured and can't move, so the strength of this place will be thin, so only knights who can move, including me, came back here. I didn't know that. If any of you are injured, do you want me to fix you up? When I suggested this, Arc-san shook his head. No, we can't make you take that much trouble. I'm sure you've already been treated by the lifeguards on the battlefield, and you're probably sick as well, right? Speaking of sickness, I feel sick too. In the morning, I ran around with Nak and Ferm as much as I could, doing my morning training. To my subtle expression, Arc-san continued. Then don't take it too hard. Your heart is probably weaker than you think. Take this opportunity to get some rest and relax your body and mind. I hadn't been aware of this, but I guess it's true if you've traveled with them. I nodded at Arc-san's words and he turned his gaze to Nia, who was on my shoulder, and spoke to her. Nia, will you take care of Yusato Dano? Yes, leave it to me. Nia nodded confidently at Arc-san's words. Arc-san. Why is Nia treating me like my guardian? Well, I guess it's time for me to get back to my duties. Sorry. I didn't mean to disturb you. No, I'm rather pleased to see you again in one piece. After exchanging a few words, they were about to part when two figures appeared from the castle. Oi! Yusato. You must be Kazuki and Flina. She's back here too, isn't she? Someone from the guard told them, and apparently they've come to pick us up. After bowing to Arksan and all the guards nearby, I join them and step into the castle. I haven't seen you since the battlefield. Thanks for helping me out back then. I'm glad to see you're doing well too. The battle with the 3rd Legion Nia was different from the other Legion Nias, wasn't it? But I'm really glad that I was able to neutralize the 3rd Legion Nia. If they had ignored me and flown away in the sky like that, I wouldn't have been able to chase them down, as I should have. Kazuki. Where are you headed now? Towards the training grounds, I guess. I heard that Leona-san is there now. Training ground. Speaking of which, where's Senpai? I realize now that I can't see my senpai and ask Kazuki. Yeah, they're going to be compiling information on the enemy from the war today. We'll be there later, so we went out to pick up Yusato before that. I see. So am I going to be told about the debriefing? I'm sure Alfie-san will be in charge of it then. What's wrong with you, Flina? I tilt my head at Flina, who is watching me from next to Kazuki. Was there something on her face? Yusato has a completely different atmosphere when he's fighting and when he's normal, doesn't he? Well, I'm aware of that. Rather, I have recently become aware of it. If you're always playing dumb, Amako will be angry with you. But no matter what they say, I am still a human being. No matter what anyone says, I will never give up on that. Certainly, Yusato is more reliable than ever when it comes time to fight. Yup. Sometimes I'm afraid of Kazuki's purity. I know he's dependable, but I'm sure you'll be able to understand why. Nia and Flynn react slightly, taken back by Kazuki, who nods away. For me, it's a little itchy, although I'm happy to be told I'm reliable. But from the point of view of the people you're fighting, Yusato must be incredibly scary. Is that so? In fact, the 3rd Corps commander who captured him, albeit temporarily, and the way his men were frightened was not normal. Now I ask you, what on earth did you do then? That's what I want to know, isn't it? No, really. I understand that you were confused because your own illusion magic didn't work, but you suddenly tried to stick a knife in your own leg, and suddenly started apologizing for something you didn't do. And to top it all off, you're treating me like a demon. Why should my staple food be turned into a soul? Well, I've got a pretty good idea of the cause of all this. I'll try to find out from Firm and Nia in their quarters later. I'm sure they know what they've done, don't they? He smiled at Nia, who had turned into a mute owl, trying not to get mixed up in the conversation. I'd forgotten about it due to my fainting spell, but I need to make sure I get it right. As she looked forward from Nia, whose face had turned blue, she suddenly remembered Amako's prediction. Speaking of which, have Kazuki and Frana heard about Amako's prediction? No, I probably shouldn't talk about it here. You never know where people's eyes will be, and they may not have been told about the prediction by Lloyd-sama in the first place. It is better not to say anything than to confuse people. Yusato, what's wrong? No, it's nothing. Well, if it's nothing, that's fine. We're almost at the training grounds. Kazuki's voice makes me look forward and I see the castle training grounds, which I also use all the time. At the location, they find a woman swinging a spear. Phew. It's Leona, a woman with beautiful golden hair tied in one behind her back. She was holding a spear, the armor of the brave, and was cleaving, and thrusting, and doing so fluidly and without any disorder at all. Her movements were even more refined than when they met in Mialak, and Frana's voice was slightly buoyant. Leona-san is a cool person, isn't she? I think I admire her a little. I really understand that feeling. It was really cool when they rushed in to fight Barzanak. When we reached the vicinity of the training ground, Kazuki stopped and turned to us. Well, I guess we're off to report in. Yeah. Thanks for the ride so far, Kazuki. Oh, yeah. Before I leave Kazuki here, I have to ask him if he can teach me how to make my magic more elastic. I'm trying to figure out if I can make my magic as elastic as Kazuki's, and I was wondering if you had any tips for me? Of course, only if you have time. I'm sure you'll be pleased to know that I'm not the only one. I see, that's totally fine. Kazuki nodded at me with a smile, and I thanked him again too. If I can be taught by the one and only Kazuki, then it's a good thing I'm a demon, yes. If it's time, how about this afternoon? Yes. I'll be fine with that time. It's not that I'm okay, it's just that I've only had basic training. Nia, who whispered this in a whisper, nodded, although she was being illustrated. Well, then, we'll meet at the training ground in the afternoon, then, Yusato. Nia. See you later. Yeah, see you later, Kazuki. Thanks for the directions. After discussing the training schedule, Kazuki and Frana parted ways with me and Nia, and we walked directly to the training grounds. In the training ground, there is Leona-san who is still wielding a spear, but as expected, we cannot interfere with the training, so we decided to wait at the edge of the training ground until it is settled. I've fought people with spears before, but Leona-san's spear movement feels different from that. It's kind of like there's a core to the attack. She thrusts, cleaves, dispels, and just repeats it, but there is no stagnation or gap in her movements. I once heard that if you get down to the basics of spear fighting, you don't need any other techniques. Well, who told you that? From some spearman who controlled it about 100 years ago. You're that guy. To be honest, I didn't understand what he meant either, so I let him go. You can't help but sigh when you see Nia being so nonchalant about it. While we were exchanging such exchanges, Leona, who was training with a spear, noticed us. You Sato. Why you were here the whole time? Is that so surprising? Leona's face changed from the dignified expression of a moment ago to one of surprise. She walked over to us, upset, and smiled a troubled smile. You're so mean. If you were here, you should have called out to me. No, I'm sorry to disturb you indeed. Can I talk to you now? Of course. I've been meaning to talk to you. Leona turned the spear in her hand, along with the light, into a pendant. For now, she sits down in a nearby field to talk calmly. Nia, I'm glad to see you're doing well too. You've become more brave than before, haven't you? Is that so? Leona looks slightly embarrassed at Nia's words. I've got to thank you while I can. Leona-san. Once again, thank you for coming to help me. You don't have to thank me. As I told you during the battle, I came to repay my debt to you. In fact, I've done more than enough to repay you. But... Leona, interrupting me, held up her forefinger. I'm sure you're not going to be satisfied with that, given your personality, so why don't we just call it even? I've been saved by you, too. That's not fair. She laughed at my embarrassment. I'm sure you can tell by the look on her face, can't you? She can read my thoughts. Hey, I'm glad to see your age-appropriate reaction. Yet. You make it sound as if I'm not usually old enough to be. Slightly embarrassed, I averted my gaze and the Nia on my shoulder nodded in agreement with Leona-san. From the way you usually do things, you're so hands-on that you think you're a child, but you're also 17. That's very convincing coming from you who is about 300 years old. Hey, by vampire standards, I'm the same age as you. What? I've never heard of that. No, she's still older than me just by standards, but vampires have such a long lifespan. Astonished by the fact that I hadn't paid attention to it before, I regained my composure and turned towards Leona again. Leona, in the kingdom of Lingle after the battle was over. Yet, I was ordered by Falgasama to wait in the Lingle kingdom before I went to battle. I see. With the current situation in Myarak, Leona-san assumed that she would have to return home immediately, but maybe Falgasama had some ideas and ordered her to do so. Right now, Norn-sama and Falgasama, who are in Myarak, and Lloyd-sama, the king of the Lingle kingdom, are exchanging information and holding discussions through Hubbard. When you say discussions, do you mean something like post-war measures? I have not been informed of the contents of the discussion itself, but it seems to be a little different. Maybe it's a discussion about the journey to defeat the Demon King that Amako predicted. If that's the case, it would explain why they are discussing it with Falgasama, who is a secretive entity. You seem to have a general idea of what's going on. I'm sorry. It's... Now. I know. It's to avoid unnecessary confusion, right? Do I really have a face? Leona turns her gaze from me, who is tilting her head as she touches her own cheek, to the training ground. It's so unsettling after the battle, isn't it? Yes, it is. Maybe it's because somewhere in my mind, I'm convinced that I shouldn't feel safe. I nodded my head in agreement with her and let the magic float in my palm. It is because I believe that the turmoil is not over yet that I have been trying to acquire skills that can compensate for my weaknesses. I'm sure you're interested in the magic power floating in my palm. Leona asks me a question. What is it, Yusato? It doesn't seem to be the same as the one that triggers the outburst of lineage reinforcement you mentioned before. Oh, this is. Explain that you are practicing to make your magic more resilient. Hearing this, Leona-san showed a somewhat shuddering reaction. Well, again you are trying to grow in a strange direction. Although this time I'm relieved to see that it's a non-dangerous direction. Ha ha ha. Elasticity to magic, hey? This is a technique that can be done because of the indefinite magic power that is different from attributes like fire and lightning. Due to the characteristics of my magic, it is impossible to do. Interesting. Leona murmurs as she puts a finger to her chin. Is it possible? Only if you use Falgasama's gauntlet. You can't tell if it's possible or not until you try it. Even if it's impossible, it's good if you can grab something. You can use it as a healing glove to control your hands, even if it's not as hard as elastic, to be honest. And next time, Kazuki. A hero who can make magic resilient, he can watch you train. Is that so? Yes. We're going to do it this afternoon. Perhaps Senpai will be there, so I'm looking forward to it, even without the training. When Leona heard about the training, she looked up from her pondering. Can I take part in that training? What? I was surprised by her sudden offer. She looks at me in surprise and shows a somewhat uneasy expression. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. If it's too much trouble. No, no. It's a great offer. But... Are you sure? Leona, I thought you were busy. No, my position does not allow me to interfere in the meetings of other countries. I have a lot of time on my hands until Master Falga and Master Norn give me my next orders. If that's the case. Well then, Leona-san, I guess you'll be joining us for training this afternoon. I'm not sure if I can help you, but I'll try my best to be. But to train together with 3 heroes is a luxury for me. I'll have to try my best to grab something today so that the 3 of us won't be disappointed. Anyway, how do you like the kingdom of Lingle? I've never been here before, but I think it's a nice place. Unlike Myorak, it's surrounded by trees. What can I say, it's a relaxing place. Myorak is a city surrounded by lakes, so everything looks different compared to the kingdom of Lingle. Is there still time until the afternoon? There's still time, so why don't I show you around the city? I'd like you to meet Amako. You don't mind. He showed me around Myorak before. I'm returning the favor. In that case, I'll take you up on your kind offer. He stood up and started to walk towards the castle gate. Even though it was because of the war, they came to the kingdom of Lingle at the wrong time. Let's let them know a little bit about the good things about this place. First of all, the good thing about this place is... I'm not surprised that I'm running with a burin on my back. The people of the Lingle kingdom are strong, aren't they? They're used to it. I think they're probably more determined than people from other kingdoms, right? That's not the reaction I was expecting. Leona seemed a little withdrawn, and while tilting her head, we went out into the city. We went to the castle, and I and Nia, along with Leona, whom we met there again, were given a tour of the city of Lingle until the afternoon training. It's not the most popular place to be because the battle has just ended, and the streets haven't yet returned to their former glory, but the shops are still open, so we showed them around and visited the shops that Amako helps with. And in the afternoon, when the training with Kazuki was about to begin, Leona and I were doing some light hand-to-hand combat to warm up. There. Sweet. The fist that I thrust out was hit by the handle of the spear that Leona-san rotated in her hand. Leona-san, who had regripped the spear as it was, launched a stone thrust at my leg. Aha! She avoids it by stepping back, but Leona steps in and simultaneously swings her spear in a large horizontal cleave. Cleave with reach. You can't take a bad distance. I repel the tip of the spear with my right arm, and while keeping my distance, I bring Leona's figure into view once again. I thought I could do it at close range, but I guess there are ways of fighting that don't let the opponent get close to you. Originally, she is so much better than Kazuki and Senpai in terms of technique. If you try to forcefully approach her, she will counterattack you like she did earlier. I said I was going to do a mock battle with a casual attitude, but it got more and more heated. Haha. No, at first, it was supposed to be a casual affair, but as we continued to attack and defend several times, it became quite stiff. Of course, Leona's hero spear is ice-bladed, and we both follow the rule of not taking each other seriously. We don't even have Nia right now. Nia was left alone with Amako as she headed off to her afternoon training. You're not coming? I asked her if she was coming and she said, no, I don't want to follow you all the time. So now I'm fighting without her support. Leona. It's time to use some magic. I don't mind, but are you sure you're okay? Yes, I am. Besides, I want to review the use of this gauntlet. Normally, I only use my gauntlets as shields. Although the assimilation of Ferrum has eliminated the advantage of unleashing magic unharmed, the cage has another property of assisting in the manipulation of magic. We have not been able to make use of it, but we need to understand it better in developing techniques to make magic more resilient. If that's the case, then as someone who, like you, has been entrusted with Falga-sama's armor, I should be able to help. Leona said, waving the spear in her right hand once, with a metallic sound, the spear took shape. I'm sure you'll agree that it's a great idea. I was surprised at the transformation, which was too cool to say the least. What? Can it be a sword too? The original form was a staff. It's a good idea to have a good idea of what you're doing. It was certainly an axe when Ms. Karen was using it, and it's not surprising that it can change into other forms. Seeing my surprise, Leona-san's smile grew stronger and she took a stance, releasing cold air from her sword. Behind her, 4 ice swords float in the air. Now, you already know how I fight with my swords, don't you? Good. This one also creates healing magic bullets in both hands. It's not serious, but it's still an interesting match. After taking a small deep breath, she runs towards Leona. Healing magic bullet. Intercept. The two healing magic bullets I threw while running and the ice sword that Leona released collide in mid-air. It's the same battle as the one we had in Mirak. The difference was that Leona was not hesitating in the fight. Although I myself am aware that I have grown up since then, Leona-san skillfully played with me with her technique and magic, and did not allow me to approach her. I was happy to see her strength as a brave warrior without hesitation, as if it were my own, but at the same time I felt frustrated at myself for not being able to fully handle the armor of a brave warrior like she could. After a few minutes had passed, she raised her voice in surprise at me as I used my healing accelerated fist to distance myself while avoiding Leona's ice sword. I've been away for a while, and you've started using some crazy moves again. You are. It's called the healing acceleration fist. This is also a technique that applies the outburst of magic power. I'm sorry. If you ask me now, you'll get confused, so I'll ask you later. It was treated as a far-fetched and unintelligible technique. He tried to close the distance again, but was stopped in his tracks by a tracking ice sword released by Leona. Its anomalous acceleration is troublesome, but... Leona raised her sword high in the air, and the blade was covered with magic. Looking at the translucent blade that began to emit a white cold air, I had a bad feeling. For those of you who are fast on your feet, this kind of technique would be effective, wouldn't it? The moment she swung her sword down, a powerful cold magic power was released from the blade. It spread sideways and came towards me, freezing the ground. What? Healing magic ruptured fist. While being taken aback, she released a shockwave of magic power from her palm to block the oncoming cold air. However, the cold air was only stopped for a moment and was immediately pushed back. She backed up and stared at the wall of cold air that still did not stop gaining momentum. No. A torrent of cold air that freezes the ground as it moves forward. If this is properly decided, movement will be restricted. A healing magic rupture palm is not enough to properly stall the cold air. If only. If the ruptured fist does not work, you can strengthen it further. She holds her right arm at her waist and creates a magic bullet in her palm. The magic bullet, which would normally grow so large that it is filled with magic power, is kept at the same size and continues to be filled with magic power by applying Gauntlet's magic manipulation ability and lineage reinforcement. Yusato, what were you? To hold down the magic power that is about to overflow, she puts her left hand on the gauntlet hand. The magic bullet is distorted in shape while overflowing with green light. The magic power is released by pushing the palm forward. Ha! At the same time as the sound of air bursting, the healing magic bullet compressed by the palm bursts out of control, and a shock wave beyond the healing burst palm is released in a fan shape as it is. With it, a recoil incomparable to that of the healing burst palm struck. No. The impact almost knocked him down, but he braced himself on his feet and held on. The green shockwave emitted from the outburst magic projectile pushed back the oncoming cold air and tore away the ice covering the ground. The green magic particles of healing magic and the ice that shattered and scattered into the air glinted in the sun, creating a fantastic scene. Whew! I exhale lightly as I lower my palm from my stance. For a spur-of-the-moment move, you've succeeded. If Healing Flying Fist is an enhanced version of Healing Punch, would this technique be an enhanced version of Healing Magic Bullet? I tilt my head to look at the green light that is glowing and drifting in the air where I am standing. Did the magic power of healing magic fly with the shockwave? It feels as if healing magic is being applied just by being here, so it must be as if not only the cold air is offset, but the caged healing magic is also dispersed into the air. If you use this technique well, you can heal a lot of people without having to touch them directly, can't you? The effect is drastically reduced, but I think it's quite useful to heal wounds just by being there. Widespread healing magic. If I had to name it, I'd say either Healing Flash or Healing Blast Wave. As I was muttering these things while being blinded by the scenery in front of me, I noticed Leona running up to me at a short distance. Ah! Leona, who can use lineage enhancement, must know on what principle I used the technique earlier. Well, she might get angry again. I can bear being angry at Rose, but I can't bear being angry at Leona-san, so I talk to Leona-san, who approaches me in a slumber. Oh, Leona-san, this is... Yusato. Would you mind removing the cage on your right arm? Ha, yes. When I did as I was told and released the gauntlet, Leona-san grabbed my wrist and looked at my entire right arm as if she were observing me. After about a dozen seconds of doing as she was told, she patted her chest in relief. Thank God. You don't seem to be hurt. What? It's such a skill. You could have been seriously injured, you know. I just wanted to make sure. Oh, you're not angry? I mean, I'm not mad at you for that. No, I'm not angry. I'm just not going to argue with your methods. In general, the techniques you use are too dangerous, but only you can apply them and think of them. Leona chuckles as she removes her hand from her right arm as she says this. Then, what I should do is not to blame you, but to help you and encourage you to grow as a user of the same systemic enhancement. Leona-san. Well, as expected, I was surprised by the technique you used just now. As she said this to me, looking embarrassed, I felt a surge of excitement, and then I noticed two signs approaching the training area where we were. It seems that Senpai and Kazuki have arrived. Yahoo Yusato-ku, why is there diamond dust dancing in the cold? And it's glowing green. Oh, it's so beautiful. I'll have to explain the current situation to you two first. At any rate, I met up with Senpai and Kazuki, and briefly explained that we had been engaged in a mock battle, and that as part of that we had created the scene we see today. Senpai said I should have come earlier. I should have come earlier. After that, as planned, they were to train to make magic elastic. Well, Kazuki. He showed Kazuki the magic bullets that he had created in his gauntlet-covered palms. I've not even found a clue yet, but if Kazuki can see it, he might be able to figure it out. Maybe Yusato is creating this magic in the manner of a lineage enhancement. What, that's not good enough. What can I say? Kazuki, with his hand on his chin and his head twisted, speaks brokenly, with the magic bullet floating in his own palm. If this magic bullet is compared to a water bowl, and the magic power that is poured into it is water, then the systematic strengthening is to exceed the capacity of this water bowl and pour water into it so that it does not break. Yes. So, making the magic elastic is a puzzle, if you like to call it that. It's like weaving and stacking layers and layers of it, aligning the shapes so tightly that there are no gaps between the magical forces. Having said this, Kazuki's voice gradually lowered and he began to feel visibly depressed. Sorry, I guess I'm not very good at explaining things. No, it's okay, I can kind of understand. I follow Kazuki, whose shoulders droop. To be honest, I could visualize parts of it, but I couldn't understand the important parts. I am ashamed of my clumsy comprehension, but Leona and Senpai, who were listening next to me, were nodding in agreement. Making magic more resilient. Or, since it's so long, let's call it resilience imparting. So the first step in getting there is different between that resilience grant and lineage enhancement, is it? Is that right? It seems that Kazuki Dano is a sensualist. Like Kazuki, I nodded my head. And then Leona turned to me. Yusato. It's not like normal magic where Kazuki's magic starts out. It's not just a matter of releasing it from your body, it's easier to say that you've created its contents. So it's not like you're just releasing magic. Yes. Kazuki Dano, Suzume Dano, can you make a magic bullet for me to try? Yes. Okay. Leona said, Kazuki creates a magic bullet. If you look closely, you can see that a sphere is being formed as the magic power wraps around the center. On the other hand, Senpai's magic bullets are familiar to me as well, the mass of magic power overflowing from his palm is solidifying as if it is being fleshed out. Do you understand the difference? Yes. In the case of a normal release of magic power, its contents are empty. However, the magic power that is inside is actually the magic power that has been created. So we were starting from the wrong place in the first place. I used to leave the release of magical power to my senses, but from now on I have to be aware of that too. I've heard that you've mastered systematic strengthening, Kazuki Dano, but I think you've had a lot of trouble mastering systematic strengthening, haven't you? Yes, I did. It was only with the help of Master Falga's gauntlet that I finally succeeded. How did you know that? Kazuki was surprised like that. Leona-san nodded to him as if she was satisfied. I thought it was strange that someone as skilled as you in handling magic power had not succeeded in strengthening the lineage, but with such precise magic power. There was probably no room for the magic power to be inserted into the system, even if it were to be strengthened. So, that's why there were so many failures. I didn't know that. So it's because they were too precise that they couldn't strengthen the system? It's amazing that you can see it right away, but most of all, it's amazing that you can teach it so clearly. I think it's considerable when I can still keep up with what I'm talking about. Have you got something, Yusato? It's a bit vague, I think. I stood up, replying to Senpai. The principle is understood. The question is whether I can perform the outstanding magical manipulation that Kazuki would be doing unconsciously, but that can only be managed with the power and perseverance of Gauntlet. Try first. Then, I'm sure you'll be able to find something that works for you. Yes, it's Yusato-kun. What is it about me that you are referring to? While my legs almost lose strength at Senpai muttering this happily for some reason, I raise my right arm, which is covered by a gauntlet. I don't think there is any danger, but if something happens, Leona-san will stop me. Thinking this, I close my eyes and concentrate on manipulating my magical power. Be aware of the release of magic power. Instead of releasing the magic gathered in the right arm as it is, weave and layer it. Make the most of the gauntlet's magical auxiliary capacity to the maximum extent. You have to concentrate a lot, but you feel a different sensation than before, and you feel a faint sense of control. After a minute or so of weaving, the magic is released from the palm. Feeling that the magic power has enveloped you from the wrist onwards, you open your eyes. In your open vision, you see your right hand covered in the same green magic as usual. Looks normal, doesn't it? Yes. The eyes of the senpai, Kazuki and Leona gather on the hand covered with magic power. It looks nothing special, but you can try it out and touch it. When I touched the magic of my right hand with my left hand, it returned with an elasticity that almost sounded onomatopoeic. Tweet. Why you can do it, Yusato? Is it working? Is it working? It's so puffy. When I am impatient with the delighted Kazuki, the magic power in my palm instantly fizzles out. As Kazuki and I are stunned by the magical power that has vanished into thin air, a senpai speaks to us with a difficult look on his face. Apparently, if you relax, it will unravel. No, maybe it's simply a short duration. You mean? I guess that means you just have to practice. I knew that would be the case. It takes some getting used to before you can activate it, and still, it's far from a real battle. But I'm impressed. I can't believe you almost got it right the first time. It's because of Leona's explanation. It was so easy to understand that even I could understand it. Oh, really? If you say so, it was worth it. It was the same with me Iraq, but Leona-san is still teaching me all the time. Now, thanks to Leona, I've got a good start, and all I have to do now is to do it in numbers, just like before, until I get it right. Fortunately, I don't have to hurt my own hands every time I do it, like I did when I was strengthening the lineage, and it's a lot easier on my mind. I'd like to try the elasticization as soon as possible. Oh, you're using it right away, aren't you? Elasticizing. It's inconvenient without a name. It's easy to understand, and it's not always easy to say elasticity to the magic power. While smiling at the senpai who looks awfully happy, I clothe my palms with magic power that has given them elasticity. As much as possible, I try not to lose my concentration and hold my gauntlet in front of me in the shape of a hand sword. I was thinking about, how does Yusato-kun intend to use it? Senpai, right now, Yusato is concentrating on. That's something I'm curious about too. Watch the space in front of you and imagine the enemy. The images of Koga, the most memorable demon tribe as an enemy. The black masked one is about to swing its claws down towards you, and you hit it with your elasticist gauntlet as if you were trying to dispel it. HMMPH. I move my right arm as if it were played with the magic power of the elasticity grant, without exerting any force. If the healing accelerated fist is a technique to add changes to my movements, the elasticity grant is a technique to eliminate waste from my movements. It is a fighting method for conserving magic power, replacing the outburst of system reinforcement, which consumes a lot of magic power, by repelling the opponent's attack with the minimum amount of magic power and movement. Aiming at the gap where my arm is forcibly and significantly bounced by the elasticity, I thrust my left fist into the defenseless bosom of the opponent with a step forward. After all, an image is an image. Ideally, this is how it should be, but it doesn't work like this as it is. The current sequence of movements must be incomprehensible from the other side. What if the three of them look at me strangely? With this anxiety in mind, I dispelled the magic power in my right hand, which had burst, and turned to the three of them. You force your opponent to roll over with your right gauntlet, and then you can use your free left fist to knock him down with your left fist. You've become even stronger in close combat. Yusato. That's the kind of skill the enemy wouldn't want to deal with. Airy. It's not too much of an insight, is it? I didn't have to explain it to him, he understood the full extent of the technique. My cheeks twitched with so much comprehension. Anyway. The purpose of the training has been achieved sooner than I expected. Now we can work on the areas we want to improve. That's right. I'm sure you'll be able to find something that works for you. Kazuki and Senpai nodded at his words. As expected, I didn't want him to ruin his training time just for me, so I agreed with him. Then, Senpai turned to Leona-san, who was watching where the conversation was going. Leona-san. Can you tell me about systematic strengthening? Yes, that's fine. But do you mind if I take some risks? I know it's dangerous. In the future, if we want to fight against the Demon King's army, we'll need techniques like system strengthening. Senpai makes a clenched fist with strong-willed eyes. Her enthusiasm seems to motivate Leona, too. I can tell. What do you really mean? I want to use a special technique like the two of you? When I spoke to her in a voice that sounded like a blur, I was immediately ragged. Senpai makes a huffing face, but Leona is somewhat taken back when she hears this. No, I'm the only one who hasn't mastered the system reinforcement, or else I'd lose all face as a senpai. Or rather, I was told not to practice because it's dangerous, but Kazuki-kun was practicing behind my back, isn't that unfair? So you're jumping on my bandwagon? Kazuki, who was watching our exchange with a smiling face, is surprised, as if he didn't expect the story to come round. But it was only for a moment that Kazuki took the brunt of it, and the senpai's gaze immediately turned to me. In the first place, it's not fair that Yusato-kun learned it first. No, I didn't have any prior knowledge of it, I just noticed it when I let my magic outburst on my own. No idea. How did that happen? When I was in Olga-san's clinic, I was trying to darken the color of healing magic. Well, when I think about it, that was probably the beginning of my current fighting style. Wait a minute, Yusato. What did you just? I'm sure you've heard of it. What were you trying to do when you didn't know how to strengthen the system? Oh no, I've dug my own grave. I try to change the subject, laughing and fooling around with Leona, who looks at me with suspicious eyes. I try to change the subject, laughing and fooling around with Leona, who looks at me with suspicious eyes. Kazuki. I heard that Senpai and Leona-san are training to strengthen their lineage, so why don't we do something together? Ah, oh. Then will you accompany me in my sword training? Because in the fight with Koga, I felt I wasn't strong enough in melee combat. I nodded at Kazuki's words and hurried him to get started on his training. The training was to end before dusk. After that, we had to train with different training partners, but the training in lineage strengthening with Senpai was full of surprises. By surprise, I don't mean that the Senpai had a hard time learning the systemic strengthening, but on the contrary, they were acquiring it at an unbelievably fast pace. I don't know whether Leona's teaching was skillful or whether Senpai was a genius, but even including that, I was surprised. You are in a good mood. Senpai. I've finally learned to strengthen my system. I'm sure you'll be happy. On the way back from the castle, he smiled at her, because she was in a good mood. I don't know why she said I'll walk you home. I don't know why. I agreed without question, but I wondered if there was something she wanted to talk about. Well, partly because I've included it, but also because the lineage enhancement was a necessary technology for me now. In the fight with Amira, I found out that just being fast is not enough against certain people. I thought I needed a special move. Was she as strong as you thought she was? I've only met her twice. I knew she was strong, but I didn't know what she was capable of. She was a tremendous opponent. He had more experience, more swordplay, more magic than I did. I think it was the power of Falgasama's armor that allowed me to win. In that sense, I guess you could say I've been saved by you again. No, that's not true. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. It was the same in the first battle, and it was the same in the second. With that, the older woman turns her attention to the ribbon around her wrist. She touches it with her left hand and utters the words as if muttering. I am still weak. So I have to become more stronger. As I walked next to her, I didn't know how much meaning she had put into those words. At this time, the image of the previous generation of heroes that I was made to watch in Samaria flashed through my mind. The previous generation of heroes who fought alone against the tyrannical wicked dragon. The overwhelming power and lonely back. Hey, who's the one in the wrong? The king? The scary dragon? Or the hero? I remember the words of a nameless girl, one of the souls bound to Samaria by the sorcerer's magic. A force to be feared even by those who try to help. I don't want Senpai to become like that. Then I have to train myself to be as good as my Senpai. Yet, why do you do that? Senpai's face turns pensive at my sudden words. Because if I leave you alone, you might end up in a strange situation. Strange? You don't trust me, do you? I shrug my shoulders, feeling the sunken air lighten. I'm sure you'll be able to understand why I'm so excited about this. I was being serious. I've been doing it, I need more power. Oh, I don't look good like that, so I'm usually in trouble. You don't like me being serious, do you? I don't understand why you don't like me. But I don't think it's typical for Senpai to be gloomy. I open my mouth, while passing over the Senpai who are poking at me with a bit of a bite. We won't let you fight alone like the heroes before you. You have us with you. I think there was someone else next to the previous hero. I think the owner of the memoirs of a hero about him is that someone, but that person was solemnly regretting letting the previous generation of heroes fight alone. The previous hero who fought alone was betrayed by the people who believed in him, the people who were supposed to protect him, and he himself could not believe in anyone, he became lonely. I can't imagine how painful that must be for you. But I don't want Senpai or Kazuki to feel that way. Let's be strong together and face it together. Yet. Thank you, Yusato-kun. Reassured by the cheerful smile of Senpai, I walked through the city, which was getting dark. Then a Senpai walking on the left side of the road noticed something and pointed to my right hand. Hey? Yusato, you're still wearing your gauntlet. What? Oh, you're right. Looking at his right arm, it was indeed still deployed, with Lady Falga's gauntlet still in place. I thought I put it away at the end of training, but maybe I took it out unconsciously or didn't put it away in the first place. At any rate, I put the gauntlet back in the form of a bracelet. I'm sure I unequipped it. I didn't pay much attention to it either, so I didn't notice it until now. So much has happened today, I guess I must be tired? Well, it's probably nothing to worry about. I thought lightly about this, and after once looking at the bracelet on my right hand, I turned around to face forward again. The day after the training with Kazuki and the rest, a messenger from the castle arrived. It was the first time I'd ever been to the castle. I immediately put on my white uniform, the formal attire of a member of the rescue squad, and left the rescue squad quarters, leaving Nak and the others to look after me. After meeting up with Amako on the way to the royal castle, they followed the castle staff's directions to the hall where Lloyd-sama was. Yusato, how was your day yesterday? You trained with Leona and the others, didn't you? We got a lot out of it. And don't be surprised to hear that. We came up with a wide range of healing magic bullets. You've come up with another funny trick. That's rude. Don't make it sound as if I'm always coming up with weird tricks. You can drown out your opponent's attacks and support your allies, right? Cowering with a sense of relief, she smiles at Amako, who walks next to her. There isn't a technique that Yusato has come up with that isn't weird, is there? How dare you? He said this to me with very clear eyes. That's it. That's what this little fox really thinks. I was just thinking that this time I'll create a magic trick to blow away a lot of enemies. That's the kind of thing Yusato would do. Yo, it's not fair to use predictive magic. What? Hey. Amako looks up at me with a seriously surprised look on her face. Realizing that I had dug my grave, I cough falsely and look forward. There are ways to use it like that, but it's mainly a technique to release it upwards to spread the healing magic. I see. It's an amazing technique. Ogigu. What a sense of defeat. What is this feeling of defeat? As you feel a strange sense of defeat at the smirking Amako, you arrive at the hall where Lloyd-sama is. There, I found Lloyd-sama, Sergio, Welshi, Kazuki, Senpai and Leona. When Lloyd-sama noticed me stepping into the hall, his somewhat haggard expression turned cheerful. Oh, you've come, Yusato. I'm sorry, you're sick. No. Don't worry about it. Thank you, Amako, for coming. Yes, Lloyd-sama. It's very kind of you to think of me, but I'm more worried about Lloyd-sama. Perhaps because of the post-war processing and handling of the situation, his expression is exhausted and he has dark circles that are visible even from a distance. With no time to care for her, she is urged to sit where Kazuki, Senpai and Leona are standing side by side. Good morning. Yusato-kun, Amako. Good morning. Good morning, Suzuan. As I whispered my greetings, the door to the hall was closed, as if we were all here. After a few seconds of silence, Lloyd-sama looks around at everyone present, and then turns his gaze to me. Yusato, I've heard about your exploits this time. As a rescue squad, you fought well. Yes. Normally, we should give you a long rest instead of such a short period of time. I'm sorry. No, I think I know what's going on by myself. I see. You have heard from Amako, haven't you? I nodded to Lloyd-sama's words. Kazuki and Senpai looked at me with a curious expression, but I think Amako's prediction will be explained later, so let's keep quiet for now. The contents of this convocation are confidential. Therefore, there are only a limited number of people who have been gathered here. I will tell you that first. At Lloyd-sama's words, Leona shows a puzzled expression. She is a Mirak person, so she seems to have doubts about being here. Perhaps sensing this doubt, Lloyd-sama turns his gaze to her. This is a story that also concerns you, the hero of my Arak. If I were you, I should have told you in advance, but Falga-sama reminded me not to leak any information as much as possible. No, I think it was a natural decision. As I should have expected, is Falga-sama involved in this matter? The coalition was victorious in the battle against the Demon King's army, but we were dealt a heavy blow by the Demon King's army's super wide-range magic attack. The damage was by no means small, and we fell into a state where we could not even pursue the defeated Demon King's army. I don't know if it was because I fainted, or how much damage was done there, but it was an attack of that magnitude. A lot of people must have been injured. At the very least, there are more injured people than the healing magicians of the rescue squad could heal in a few days. At that time, an urgent message was delivered by Falga, the divine dragon of Mirak. Its contents suggested the fact that the attack made at the end of the battle was due to sorcery exercised by the Demon King. The Demon King. The master of the demon race, who has not interfered directly until now. When I learnt that the previous large-scale attack was carried out by the Demon King, I understood how powerful he is. And at the same time, I finally understood the intention of that attack. It was also an attack to share the pain, and to let the demon race escape. We were hurt by the attack of the powerful Demon King, but on the contrary, we were able to know the existence of the Demon King, which we could not even catch a glimpse of until now. However, it can be said that, on the contrary, it was a witness to the overwhelming strength of the Demon Lord. I'm not sure if it's possible for a mere mortal to compete with a Demon King who can attack like that. In some parts of my mind, I feel uneasy about that. I listened to Lloyd-sama's words, trying not to let this anxiety show on my face. The Demon King is weak, is the conclusion drawn by the Divine Dragon, Falga-sama. Weakened? What does that mean? The current Demon Lord seems to be less powerful than before he was sealed, and Falga-sama said that he had used up a lot of his strength in carrying out this attack. I see, so the Demon King did not carry out the method of invasion as described in the memoirs of the heroes. Because if the gruesome invasion had been carried out as described in the memoirs, the coalition would have fallen without a fight. Over the past few days, I've been talking with my ministers, and I've come up with a plan. Lloyd-sama falls silent as it is. I could see the regret and confusion on his face. After a dozen seconds or so, Master Lloyd verbalizes his plan as if he is trying to squeeze it out. A small number of troops to defeat the Demon King army. The three heroes, Suzuan, Kazuki, and Leona, and the healing magician Yusato, who assists them, form a squad of the most elite of the elite, and are sent to the Demon King's territory. For us, now is an opportune time when the Demon King is probably weakened. We will use the best forces on the human side to seize the opportunity and launch an offensive at once. The faces of everyone except me and Amako look astonished. The three heroes, including Kazuki, Senpai, and Leona, and me, the healing magic user? When I think about it again, I wonder why me. The most important thing to remember is that you can't just take a chance on a new person and expect to be able to get a new job. To be honest, I can't think of anything else. To be honest, I couldn't agree more with this plan. I could not agree to this plan, because it would drive you, who have fought to the death and survived, back to the dead. I have appealed to Falga-sama to find some other way, but no alternative has been found. In addition, Lloyd-sama's gaze turns to me and Amako. Since Amako has seen the prediction that you guys will go on a journey to defeat the Demon King, it has been decided that the plan will be carried out. Amako's prediction never came true. It must have already been decided that Amako herself, myself, my senpai and Kazuki, who appeared in her prediction, would go on the journey. Even so, Lloyd-sama raises her head and looks at us with straightforward eyes. But I will still ask you guys. I'm not sure what to make of it. Of course, I won't blame you if you refuse. I want you to give me an honest answer. Silence reigned in the room. The first person to break the silence was the senior. Lloyd-sama, I am already prepared for this. Although I have only been summoned to this world for a short time, for me, the kingdom of Lingle is my second home. If it is for the sake of the people living in this land, I will take up this sword. I, too, feel the same as my senpai. If I can protect the lives of the people here with my power, I will fight the Demon King. Kazuki then puts it into words. Like senpai, I'm ready for it. Once I turn to look at Amako next to me, she grasps the sleeve of my core uniform. If it's Yusato's decision, I won't say anything, okay? I nodded at her words and turned to Lloyd-sama. Lloyd-sama, I will also participate in the defeat of the Demon King as a member of the rescue squad. You don't mind, do you? Yes. If I shy away from the mission here, I'll be yelled at by the commander again. And apart from my mission as a squad, I also have a great desire to help my senpai and Kazuki. I'll do something that only I, a healing magic user, can do, not anyone else. The three of us declared this, and at the end, Leona-san took one last step forward. As it was, she kneeled down in front of Lloyd-sama, and after one pause, she opened her mouth. From the very beginning, I came to this land on a mission as a brave warrior. If that is the case, there is no reason for me to refuse the task of defeating the Demon King. And besides, Leona-san takes one look at me. She smiles a little at my tilted head, and continues with her words. He, Yusato, and I have been through the death line together. I'm not sure what to do, but I'm sure I can do it. Leona-san. At the oath of office, an appeal says. When put into words like that, I am usually embarrassed. For some reason, senpai is frustrated in a small voice, but even for me, having Leona-sama on my side is very reassuring. After hearing the four of us, including me, reply, Lloyd-sama lowered his shoulders as if he were deflated. I entrust the fate of the Lingle Kingdom, or rather, the people living on the continent, to you guys. Yes. Suzuan, Kazuki, Yusato. I'm sorry that I have to put this burden on you again, but as an adult, I feel ashamed. But still, let me say this. Be sure to. And come back alive. You can't imagine how difficult the journey of defeating the Demon King is. Nevertheless, now that it has been entrusted to us, we must absolutely fulfill its mission. We must make it back alive. So, having made a mental note of Lloyd-sama's words, I replied strongly. After announcing our participation in the mission to defeat the Demon King, we were taken to a separate room where we were briefed on the full details of the mission to defeat the Demon King and Amako's prediction. We were sitting on chairs lined up in a room where documents and maps had been collected, and Welshi-san, who had the documents on the table, was telling us about the Demon Lord's territory where we would be heading. Now that the Demon Lord is weakening, it is preferable to leave as soon as possible. First of all, we need to familiarize you with the geography and information about the Demon Lord's territory, otherwise it will be dangerous. Welshi-san, who has a map of the continent on her desk, points to a black piece of land marked Demon Lord's territory. It is the territory of the Demon King, which is adjacent to the country of the Beast Man across the territory of the Demon. While looking at the map carefully, I listened to Welshi-san's explanation. To be honest, the Demon King's domain is an unknown land for us, just like the Beastman's country. Has anyone tried to enter it or anything? I heard that there were many people who tried to enter, but few of them came back alive. Is that how harsh the land is? No, it could simply be that the demon side is well protected. If there are only a few pieces of information, it is that the Demon King's territory is inhabited by ferocious demons. Then it may be difficult to make the horse run properly, isn't it? Yes, that would be very likely. Leona-san pointed out, and Welshi-san nodded. If it is impossible to travel by horse, then we will be limited to walking. Due to the fact that we carry luggage, we don't want to have to carry heavy luggage, but if you're in Bluren, you might be able to move around without fear of demons. The problem is that you don't know how to get to the place where the Demon King is, right? Yes. We have interrogated the prisoners, but in this short period of time, we have not received any convincing information. To be honest, it would be very difficult to head to the Demon Lord's territory at this stage. We can't let the captured demons guide us on our way. I'm sure you'll be able to understand why. Senpai crosses her arms and utters this. If you're a prisoner of war, there's a good chance that you'll be taken to a false location or trapped and endangered. In the first place, it is far from comforting when you are traveling with hostile demon captives. He'll show you the way, demon tribe. I have an idea of what I'm talking about. But I'm not sure if I should ask her out. No, there's no point in me being the only one wondering now. Welshi-san, I have an idea. Is it her, by any chance? Yes. But would you mind if I waited just one day? That's fine, but... Are you sure? Welshi-san looks worried, but I tell him not to worry. She is no longer a danger, but she is definitely in a difficult position, both on the human side and on the demon tribe side. Besides, considering her past, she might refuse to go to the Demon Lord's territory. First, let's go back to the inn and talk with her Ferrum. A guide to the Demon King? You can do it. Ari. It was the night when I was ordered by Lloyd-sama to defeat the Demon King. I went back to the dormitory, and with a serious look on my face, I asked Ferrum about guiding me to the Demon King's territory, but the answer was too simple. Ferrum, sitting across the table from me in the dining room, looked at me curiously in surprise. Why are you surprised? No. You don't have a very good memory of the Demon Lord's territory, do you? You're treating me like a child. She gets grumpy for some reason and I don't know why. Nia, sitting next to me, laughs at my confusion. I knew it, you're so worried, you're taking it more seriously than Ferrum herself. Does she seem like such a sensitive person? Yes. Don't answer so quickly. I know that Ferrum is quite sensitive. To be honest, I've been aware of it since she was locked in the cell. After taking a deep breath to regain her composure, she sat back in her chair with vigor and crossed her arms. Mostly, the Demon Lord's domain was not a good place for me, but that's all. I've already cut ties with the village where I was born, and I've already betrayed the Demon Lord's army, so there's no need to worry about it now. Are you sure? Is it okay? No. I'm not sure what to say, but I'm sure it's a good idea. Besides. Ferrum points at me with a stern look. She lifted her eyes and shook her shoulders. I haven't forgotten. After you threw me in the lifeboat, you immediately went on a letter-carrying trip and left me there. Yes, that's right. I don't think they left him there, I think they just couldn't let him out of the kingdom because of his position. Do you know how much hell Rose put me through after that? Hey, how come you can look so strange there? You look like you're wondering why now. Well, as I said, I feel bad that I was the cause of Ferrum joining the lifeguard team, that I left her alone and went on a journey. But you wanted to go on a journey so badly, didn't you? If you are so rooted in your feelings, it shows how strong they are. Either way, it's reassuring to have you to guide me. I'd be very grateful for you to be there, too. I'm not your armor. No, I'm not. I'm just a good friend. It's true that she's strong when she's with Ferrum. But more than that, it's reassuring to have friends close by that you can rely on. I'm not sure what I was thinking, but I stopped trying to talk to Nia, who was resting her cheek on the table, from Ferrum, who was lying face down and shaking her shoulder. Nia, well, she's going, so I don't have to ask her. No, you should listen. I'll follow you. Then you don't have to listen. Then Nia raises herself up from the table with a grim smile. Don't you understand? You'll be lonely if you don't get the right amount of attention. Are you a maiden or something? Oh my gosh, how proud are you? When you say it with such a confident face, it makes me feel like a man, on the contrary. Slightly shuddering, he looks from Nia back to Ferrum. Ferrum, if you are willing to follow me on my journey to defeat the Demon King, I'd be happy to have you come to the castle with me tomorrow. Oh, what am I supposed to tell you? Probably about the terrain of the Demon Lord's territory and the demons. It's true, the Demon Lord's territory is far away from here. I understand. Ferrum nods with her hand on her chin. Seeing her like that, I suddenly asked her what was bothering her. What kind of place is the Demon Lord's domain? A gloomy place. Well, even though it's your hometown, you're really saying a lot. Ferrum snickers at Nia and I, who are both a little taken aback. At least that was the case in the village where I grew up. It was a place where it was difficult to grow crops, so we had to eat for the day, and there were always dangers in the forests, because only ferocious demons were allowed to hunt there. Vicious demons. You've probably heard this already, but you can safely assume it's almost impossible to get around on a horse. If you ride a horse in a place like that, you'll soon be targeted by demons or by hungry people. Are they that needy? The demons. Before the Demon Lord woke up, it was much worse. After mentioning the name of the Demon Lord with disinterest, Ferrum looks out the window at the view outside. I don't know how he did it, but the Demon Lord gave power to a land called the Demon Lord's domain. Thanks to him, crops have been able to grow and the water is rather clean. Is so out of the ordinary. He's a Demon King. Is it witchcraft? Even if that were the case, the magic power to cover the vast area of the Demon Lord's territory is too much. But from what we've heard, does that mean that the Demon Lords of the current era worked for the Demon Lords living in the Demon Lord's territory? Could it be that he challenged the human side to a fight? No, that would be a naive idea. If the Demon King was the kind of person who would take the methods described in the memoirs, it is normal to think of it as a means to create an army to serve as his own limbs. I'll keep this in my heart as just one thought. However, defeating the Demon King is a mission as a hero. Then, after defeating the Demon King, what happens to the demon race? We don't even know the respective reasons they fight. Can we challenge the Demon King without knowing that? I should see the Demon Lordship with my own eyes. I'm still lacking in awareness. To what it means to defeat the Demon King. To know that, you have to know. Hey, you Sato. Yes. When I came to my senses and looked at Nia, who had called out to me, she plopped down on the table again and spoke to me in a somewhat sleepy manner. When are you leaving on this journey to defeat the Demon King? From the Demon King's condition, they don't know when he'll recover, so they want to leave as soon as possible. Well, she says that they will leave the Lingal Kingdom as early as within 3 days, and once they have made final preparations at the base where the battle took place, they will enter the Demon Lord's territory. You're pretty impatient, aren't you? I'm sure you're right. It's not easy to know when the Demon King will recover. I feel like rushing, but I've been warned by Welshi to keep calm, because haste dulls your judgment. I have to proceed with caution and not be in a hurry. As I was thinking about this, I noticed that Nia looked distressed. I know we're leaving soon, but then Nak will be alone again, won't he? I guess so. If me, Nia and Ferrum, who are here, leave, then Nak will be the only one left here. Now that Rose and the others haven't come back, we'll be left with him here at the age of 12. I'm thinking about him all right. I've told him we'll talk afterwards. Oh, really? Well, I guess it's all right then. I had been thinking about Nak too, so I promised to talk to him later. As we were talking, Nak came into the dining room. Just in time, I stood up and talked to him. You're here. Nak. Yes, I am. I heard you wanted to talk to me. Oh. I could talk to you here, but I think I'll just walk outside and talk to you for a change. Nia, would you mind making dinner for me? Yes, I'll do that. I know it's a lot to do on your own, so I'll help you after I'm done talking to Nak. That's fine, just go and have a good talk with Nak. I'll let Ferrum help you. What? Why me? Ferrum objected. Come on, let's go, said Nia, heading towards the kitchen. I saw them off and turned to Nak to urge him to go outside. I turned to Nak and urged him to go outside. On the way from the rescue squad's quarters to the training ground, I gave Nak a brief explanation of my journey to defeat the Demon King. Although this information has not yet been revealed to the general public, I thought it was important to tell Nak, so I did, and Nak's reaction on hearing this seemed somewhat shocking. Why? After all, he was shocked that he might be left here alone. I was about to continue talking to him when he spoke up before I could. Why do you always do such life-threatening things, Usato-san? Nak. We've just finished a battle, and now the Demon King is next. If you keep this up, Usato-san will die. I'm such an idiot. Shocked that Nak would be alone, I am ashamed of myself for thinking so. No matter how impossibly sturdy Usato-san is. Yet, how impossibly tough Usato-san is, and how brazen his nerves are to take a bite out of Rose. Even if he is sometimes so lethargic that you wonder if he has a double personality. Nak. Isn't that a bit much? But that doesn't stop the downcast Nak. Even if you are insensitive to the fact that you like it so much that you can see it from the side. Even if your naming sense is broken. Even if your moves are so polished that you can't believe you're human. As you can see, it's impossible for a Demon King to be an opponent. Maybe. Oh, wait a minute. Nak. More than ever before. I'm already overflowing with my innermost feelings. And I know I sound depressed, but I'm saying quite a lot, you know? What? Maybe you're still angry at being left behind? I'm sorry. I said about half of what I said. It's not half, is it? It's all of it, isn't it? No, I meant that I said half of what I wanted to say. That's what you mean by half. I'm afraid to ask about the other half. To be honest, I think I know why Usato-san had to go to a dangerous place. Because when I was helping out at the castle, I heard about Usato-san and his team's activities. I see. So, you don't have to worry about me. Why? I wondered honestly at Nak's words. In response to my question, he continued, somewhat surprised. To be honest, I think I understand why Usato-san has to go to dangerous places. When I was helping at the castle, I heard about the activities of Usato-san and the others. Nak. I stop and call out his name. I showed Nak the way to join the rescue squad. After that, it's up to Rose to guide him, but I'm still responsible for him. Okay? I never thought of you as a distraction. You're my protege, my subordinate, and a fellow rescue squad. It doesn't matter how old you are. Of course the mission is important to me, but I'm not so divisive that I'd neglect you because of it. I understand how Nak feels. But still, I can't neglect him. Nak, why don't you come and help the commander and his men? What? Help is? You guys now? Yes, we are currently treating the injured at our base in the plains. Maybe there is not enough manpower there. No matter how many journey you guys are, there is a limit. If Rose is also seriously injured, she would want even one more person to help her. In the near future, we are going to head to the base to head to the Demon King territory. There we will leave you in the hands of the commander. After that, it's up to you what you want to do. There is no danger because the battle is over, but it may still be a painful sight for Nak. I don't know if it's right for me to take him back to the base. After explaining this to him again, I ask him if he wants to go. I don't know. I'll go. It's a lot better than being smoked out here all by myself. It's settled. Nak is strong. He's been through a lot, he's been knocked down a lot, but his spirit is strong and he's not going to let anything break him. I'm sure he'll be able to handle it in my absence. Because I can't stay in my base. While watching over Nak, who is making a clenched fist and looking motivated, she notices that the training ground she always uses is visible nearby. It's still too early to go back. Nia and Ferrum are cooking dinner for us, but if we go back now we'll have to wait a bit. Okay, Nak, don't tell Nia, okay? What? What? I'm going to teach you a few of my tricks. Nia had warned me about this before, but I was willing to give him a few tips to help him grow. We walked to the training ground and I walked up to a tree near the training ground. The raised fist is covered with magic power, which is then shown to Nak. The healing punch is simply a technique of punching with a fist covered in healing magic. It's a simple technique that does nothing else, but with this one you can render any opponent unconscious and unharmed. It's pretty simple, isn't it? I guess I could do it too, but probably won't be able to do it as well as Usato-san. That's where, like I said before, you just have to find your own unique technique. Mine is just a wild technique. The next step is to gather the magic power in his hands into his palms and create a magic bullet. And a healing magic bullet. You know this one well, don't you? Yes. Because I guessed so badly. That's a tricky thing to say. No, I know you don't mean any harm. To regain his composure, he throws a healing magic bullet at a tree in his line of sight. With a bang, the magic bullet that hit the tree bursts free. But you can't throw a magic bullet as powerfully as that if you throw it normally, can you? I tried to copy that once, but I couldn't do it at all. Ha ha ha, you don't need to throw this technique. What? Is that so? It is easy to be misunderstood, but my healing magic bullet is just a technique of throwing magic bullets by force. If you can release a magic bullet normally, there is no need to throw it. I thought it was a technique like that. I had no talent for shooting magic, so I had no choice but to throw it. So, if you want to shoot magic bullets, anyone can do it. Even me. Yes. You can do it your way, your way. I'm more like a role model. Don't use me as an example, okay? Ha, ha, I understand. He nodded at my words and, like me, created a magic bullet in his right hand. He then held his palm in front of him with a magic bullet floating on it and released the magic bullet forward. The magic projectile was released, slightly missing the target tree and flew backwards. It missed. But it was successful. Knack, this is your healing magic bullet. My, healing magic bullet. Knack says this with a slight quiver in his voice. It seems that the aim is the same as the healing flying fist. I'm sure I can give you some advice on that. I walk up next to him, straighten my right arm, and put my hand on his shoulder. Straighten your arm from the shoulder to the palm. The image is like a magic bullet through the space between the shoulder and the palm. Yes. It's okay if you miss. Take your time and aim well. Take your time. This is the first time I've ever seen him shoot a magic bullet from his palm. As I watched him from behind, I felt just a little that I understood the feelings of Rose, who was training me. I felt a little bit like I understood how Rose felt when she was training me. Author's note. Knack's non-throwing healing magic bullet is a normal support recovery technique. The healing magic bullet thrown by Usato will have a shock in addition to the recovery effect. Usato brought Ferrum as a guide for the journey to defeat the Demon King. I'm not going to lie, I'm still a little scared of him. I know that she is not a bad girl. The dark and heavy atmosphere of the Black Knight that we met on the battlefield is gone. Senpai was trying to make contact with Ferrum again today, showing an odd response with his characteristic speed of switching, but she was so enthusiastic that she hid behind Usato's back to keep her distance from Senpai all the time. At times like this, I envied my senpai's quickness to switch sides. Kazuki, I'm going to stay here. I see. And I nodded at Flynna's words as she visited me after our second discussion was over. I knew my father wouldn't allow it. Well, she's the only daughter of the chief, so I can't blame her. Yes, I know. I know. If I could, I'd follow you even if you ignored me. But... She sits in her chair and looks up from her prone position. The smile on her face was powerless. Honestly, I just thought that if I went, it would slow me down. That's not true. During the battle against the Demon King's army, I put all the knights who followed me in danger because of my lack of strength. If Usato hadn't rushed to the scene at that time, I don't think I would have been able to neutralize the Third Army commander either. As it turns out, the bad premonition I had during the battle came true. Flynna and the knights were in danger, and Usato himself had to use a lot of magic. I am not strong enough to keep up with you on your journey. And I can see that I would be a burden to Kazuki. You've already made up your mind about, haven't you? Yes. I'm going to stay here with Celia and wait for your return. In that case, I'm not going to say anything more. Given her character, I'm sure she's more frustrated than I am. Oh, yes. Don't be reckless just because I'm not here. Don't do anything like you did when you hurt your hand badly. I know. I know I made you worry so much, but I don't want you to have to be reminded every time you use a systemic enhancement that you are not ready for. Also, you should keep a close eye on Usato. Watch Usato. Yeah. He's probably worse than Kazuki. He's worse. Why do you look so happy? No, he didn't look that happy. She tilts her head at Flynna, who blatantly twitches her mouth, and she clears her throat to regain her composure. A few times, I've seen him fight and he's not normal in terms of ability. Well, I guess that's because of the help of Nia and the people who help him. Still, it was a mess of a fight from what I saw. Well, if I were asked to fight the real Usato, I would want to refrain from doing so. One reason is that Usato cannot use light magic, which could kill his opponent, but even before that, the techniques he uses are troublesome. Healing Accelerated Fist, Healing Bursting Palm, and the Healing Explosion Wave, which he had recently developed. And a fighting technique that makes use of the elasticity of magic power. Although they have almost no physical offensive power, almost all of the techniques he has developed are sure to strike his opponents with his best weapon, his fist. Well, there's no way I'm ever going to have a real fight with Usato, so I don't think you'll have to worry about it. I know that. But when he was about to head to the next battlefield while nearly running out of magic power, he was scary. We've heard about Usato's actions in the war against the Demon King's army. Yusato was running around the battlefield, helping injured and pinned down people. In the midst of it all, he also dealt with the commander of the legion, and kept moving despite being worn out. I got scared when I saw how strong his mental heart was. Flynn. No, to be frank, I've been scared of him since the time I saw him fight Rose, but... Hey, you're being too frank. He said with such a serious look on his face that I almost fell over. Because you know what? I'm not sure what to make of it, but I think it's a good idea. Don't compare Yusato to the guardian god of the elves. What? It's the greatest compliment to the elves. That's not the point. Sich Conrad is a gorilla demon from Flynna's homeland. It is said to be a kind of guardian deity of the elven race and a symbol of power and knowledge. So I know you are praising it. I know what you mean, but I'm not sure I'd compare it to a gorilla. Anyway, it's better to keep a close eye on Yusato, you know. Also, be careful that Suzune doesn't get out of control. I'll leave Senpai to Yusato, it's fine. Oh, really? Well, it's better for Suzune too, isn't it? I responded immediately, and Flynn replied in a slightly reluctant manner. Senpai would spin out of control if you give them bad advice. To use a baseball analogy, if the coach tells you to bunt, you take a full swing? After all, I'm not a good metaphor. Once again, as I realize this and feel depressed, Franna stands up after we finish talking. Well then, now that we've finished what we wanted to talk about, let's go to Celia's. Kazuki's leaving in a few minutes, so we've got a lot to talk about. Ah, yes, you're right. You're right. I nodded to Flynna and I stood up and left my room with her. The journey to defeat the Demon King. Given the premonitions Amako has seen, there is a strong possibility that something else will happen besides the Demon Lord. I am anxious and scared, but at the same time I am also a little excited. After all, Senpai, Yusato and I, the three of us who came to this world together, will be traveling together. It's different from when we traveled separately in Lukvis. Joining forces, believing in each other and moving forward together. How can we not be excited? Today I took Ferrum to the castle. Thanks to Ferrum's presence, we were able to make a lot of progress with our plans and set a date for the trip. After that, I went to greet Mr. Alk and Lady Celia on my way home, and told them in person that I would be following them on their journey. You've got a lot of letters. When I left, I was handed a letter addressed to me. In addition to that, I had recently received a letter from Amiko from the land of the beasts, so there were a lot of letters stacked on my desk. From Samarial, Lady Lucas and Eva. From Mirak, the Norn. From Hinomoto, there were letters from Rinka, Hayate and Kanoko, Amako's mother, for some reason. Surprisingly, it also came from Princess Naya of Calm Helio. I heard that she also came to Kazuki with Senpai, so it's not just me, but she's a very disciplined person. Once again, you've been sent by some really amazing people. I'm afraid, what can I say? Alright. I'll have to write a reply before I go. I pick up my pen and go to my desk. Yusato, do you have any books here? I hear a carefree voice behind me. Sighing, I turn around to see Nia lying on my bed. She's asking me for my book, and she's being very arrogant. Nia, why are you here? It's my room. Well, I'm not busy. If you're not busy, get out. No, I don't want to. I'm not busy. Well, that's all right. No, what do you mean, you're not busy? Are you in my room because you're bored? No, I told you to leave because I can't concentrate, and you don't want to because you're bored? What? What do you mean? I'm confused by Nia's clever way of talking. Look what you're doing, you're answering letters. Wow, that's a lot of letters. As for me, I'm very grateful. Do you write to all of them? Nia peers at my hand from behind and lets out a disgusted ahe. It's also a way to let people know that I'm okay. And you don't know how long the journey to the Demon Lord's domain will take. That's why you're not training, unusually. You make it sound like I'm training all the time. But you're not wrong. Hey, while I'm sitting here, I'm training in magical transference. What? He shows his left hand and shows a magic bullet the size of a marble moving through his palm at high speed. The advantage of this magic spinning is that it can be practiced as casually as ayatori or pen spinning. Nia reacts by blatantly pulling back when he shows the transfer of magic from finger to wrist, wrist to elbow and elbow to wrist. You're still the same training idiot and I'm still pulling. The fact that the magic bullet is moving around like a living thing is beyond amazing, it's disgusting. Isn't it awful? I admit that I do a lot of training. But when Nia is around, it's hard to concentrate. He pulls out an old, battered book that he keeps in a nearby drawer and holds it out to Nia. Here. I'm sure you'll be pleased to know that I'm not the only one who's a fan of your work. I forgot to mention that you had one of these. Is that okay? Thanks, it's a good way to pass the time. I fall into bed in a good mood and carefully flip through the pages. It's a journal full of worm-eaten pages, but Nia has filled in some of the gaps and corrected some of the text. When I saw the letter in front of me, I slowly stretched away from her, absorbed in reading. Well, let's read it. Anyway, I have to read through the letters first. I pick up the first letter I see and it is addressed to Rinka. It's from Amako's friend, Rinka, the wolf beast girl. She opened the letter as carefully as she could and read through the contents. You who? Yusato. It's Rinka. Oh, you look energetic. It's amazing how emotions can be conveyed through letters. I could tell in 2 lines what Rinka was feeling when she wrote this letter. Looking at the first sentence, I chuckled and followed the girlish, slightly round letters with my eyes. You who? Yusato. It's Rinka. It's been a while since Yusato left Hinomoto. I miss Amako a bit, but I'm doing well. Since my father took over Hinomoto, I've been going back and forth between the hidden village and Hinomoto. It's a bit annoying to be told to wear a kimono, to be a lady, and so on, but it's not so boring when my dad is in charge. I remembered that there had been a bit of a commotion after Yusato and his friends left. Some time ago, Amako's mother wandered around Hinomoto on her own, and there was a big commotion. At that time, the whole country was in a panic. All the soldiers were looking for Amako's mother. My father said, it's the same old thing. It's been a long time since I've seen the usual, he muttered over and over, holding his stomach. Eventually, Amako's mother went for a walk, and after half a day or so, she came back to where she was. When I went to talk to her later, she said nostalgically, I met her when we went for a walk too. I've known since I was little that Amako's mother is a funny person. The rest of the story is about how my mother came back to Hinomoto and how my father got angry with her. I wrote the same thing in the letter I sent to Amako, but I want my human friend Yusato to come back to Hinomoto to visit me. If you have any funny tricks like before, please show them to me again. I might send you another letter, so please do. I want to go back to Hinomoto. After reading Rinka's letter, I remembered Hinomoto, the land of the beasts. It was a land full of nature, just like the kingdom of Lingle. The landscape of Hinomoto reminded me of the landscape of the original world, with its nostalgic rows of Japanese houses. When I came here, I was caught up in the turmoil involving Jinya-san, so I didn't have time to enjoy the surroundings, but I still know the great nature that surrounds Hinomoto and the strength of the beast people who live there. If Senpai were to visit Hinomoto, he would probably be overwhelmed. It was a place full of charm. By the way, Kanoko-san, aren't you going at your own pace too? From Hayate's mutterings that are noted, it seemed like she was doing the same thing up to 2 years ago, though. However, Kanoko, who was weak when she first woke up, is now able to walk. This must be good news for Amako. Hey, Yusato. What's the matter? Did you tear the page or something? No, it was there from the beginning. If you have any more paper and pens, please give them to me. I turned around and handed Nia a few sheets of paper and a spare pen, which I had prepared for the letter. She began to write something down on the paper, looking through the journal of the hero. What are you doing? Deciphering? It's just something to pass the time. I think that's a lot of blurry text and worm-eaten pages. I can read some of it, but I can't read some of it, so in the end I can't understand what it says. I can read the part that Nia deciphered for me, but that's it. The content and the form of the letters. It's just a matter of predicting the text based on the content, the shape of the letters and the tendency of the writing style, and then fixing it so that it's readable in parts, unless the whole page is ruined. I was frankly surprised when Nia turned to me with a smug look on her face. Nia looks smart. That's rude. I'm always smart. It's true that she is smart, but look at how she usually is. I've been saved by her many times. Can I see that later? Sure. But it doesn't have anything interesting in it, does it? Nia said this, but she immediately thought of something and raised her body to look back at us. Oh, but there's one thing I did notice. What? What? You'll be able to find a lot more information on the web. It's authentic, both chronologically and in terms of content, but there's something distinctly unnatural about it. She smiles tentatively and shows her journal. There is no mention of the name of the previous hero anywhere in the book. I'm sure you'll agree that it doesn't, but at the same time I'm getting chills. The more I thought about the significance of this little fact, the more frightened I became. The reason why the name of the brave man was not written in the memoirs, the previous brave man was treated so badly that he was not even called by his original name, I thought. Yusato. No, it's nothing. Nia, who had fallen silent, replied and went back to reading the letter. The previous generation of heroes who fought the demons for the people. The previous generation of heroes were respected by the beastmen as the hope of a savior. But Did anyone ever really see him for what he really was? Was there anyone who called him by his first name? These questions kept going round and round in my head, but I tried to concentrate on what was in front of me. Author's note. Sich Conrad, a divine beast from the Elvish tradition. The first name is Grand Gorilla. I tried my best to come up with a name that didn't sound like this, but the name Gorilla itself sounded perfect and complete, so I decided to go with something that sounded like a guardian god. I hear a voice. I feel like it's trying to tell me something important. But I don't know what it is. The echoing voices are like echoes of a mountain echo, and they come to me in pieces. I can't let that voice go unheard. In a blur of consciousness, I vaguely feel this, and I concentrate my attention to hear the voice. I put my hands to my ears and listen carefully. Come. Waste. I am not fooled by the voice. The voice was faint and fragmented. When I finally heard it, the view that I had only been drifting through changed in an instant. My vision turns from dark to dizzying. I closed my eyes, bored with the sight of what seemed like an eternity, and when I opened them again. Oh, Sato-kun. Are you awake? Senpai. There was Senpai looking into my face. Looking around, Kazuki, Senpai and Leona are in a familiar room with Ferrum, Amako, and Nak. Including me, the 7 of us are sitting facing each other, and the room the carriage is rattling and shaking. Ah, I see. You've left the kingdom of Lingle. We who received the mission of defeating the Demon King were riding in the carriage that the castle prepared for us to go to the base, the place where we prepare to leave for the Demon King's territory. As I wipe my sweat-soaked forehead and try to rest my back against the backrest again where I'm sitting, I notice Nia taking a nap in an owl-like state on my shoulder. I thought you were gone, but you were on my shoulder. Oh. No, you were supposed to be sitting in your normal seat when we got in the carriage, weren't you? When did you come on my shoulder? Amako, who was sitting next to me and the senpai in front of me, speaks to me as I am tilting my head looking at Nia on my shoulder. Sato-kun, what's wrong? You look pale, but... Oh, I had a weird dream. I don't remember what kind of dream I had, though. Amako tilts her head at the mention of a dream. A scary dream? No, I don't think it was scary. I don't really remember the content. But I feel a sense of loss, like I've forgotten something I shouldn't have. While pretending to be a little troubled, Amako continues to speak to me in question. So, the dream of being trained by Rose. You said you weren't afraid, right? I thought Sato loved training so much that he finally started training in his sleep. Oh, sorry, no, not now. So don't give me that I knew you had it in you look. Don't make a face like that. You train in your dreams. It's like an extension of imagery training. Well, I don't think it's too much to worry about. Yes, it does. Unlike my dream, Sato's is probably just a normal dream. I rather wonder what would happen if I had a premonitory dream. I thought I'd be able to bite your knee again while you were taking a nap, but I couldn't. Suzudono, isn't it not a good idea to do something like that? Leona, please don't stop me. It's the only way I can. There is something about Senpai talking to Leona in a whisper. From the feel of it, though, it doesn't sound like the senior is annoying Leona-san. Kazuki, how long has it been since we left? Roughly about an hour. An hour? That wasn't much time passed, was it? I was so overcome with sleep as soon as I got into the carriage that I don't even remember going through the gates of the kingdom of Lingle. Maybe I was more nervous than I thought I was. We finally left, didn't we? I guess so. We'll stop at the base once, but we may not be able to return to the Lingle kingdom for the time being. He nodded at Kazuki's words, then spoke to Nak, who was looking nervously and impatiently at the scenery outside. Is this your first time riding in a carriage, Nak? No. I've ridden in them a few times when I was little. We asked for permission to take Nak for a ride to take him to the base where Rose and her friends were. Both Welshi and Sergio knew Nak from his work at the castle and were happy to allow him to ride in the carriage. Nak, who looked hunched over, glanced at Senpai. I was nervous to think that I was sitting in the carriage with Suzune-san, Kazuki-san, and Leona-san, who was chosen as the hero of my Arak. Haha, I've never met Leona-san before, so it's no wonder I'm nervous. We'd already been introduced, but I suppose it made it even more nerve-wracking for Nak. I wonder if I'm easily distanced from my children. And while I was thinking about it, Leona, who was listening to the conversation, was sober and depressed. When I try to talk to her to follow up on this, she calls out to me from another seat. You're not ready to be nervous at this level, are you? It was from the far end of the carriage that such a voice came from. Ferrum, who sat at the very end, about 2 people's distance away, and Nak returned the words with a jittery look. Why are you sitting at the end of the table like that, Ferrum? I just don't get on with people unnecessarily. I'm not a big fan of this kind of thing. I'm not sure if he noticed her, but he stood up with a big smile on his face. Farum. Don't stay in such a dark place, come over here. Absolutely not. Who would go to a freak like you? Don't say that. We're on the road together. Don't come near me. I'm scared of you. As Senpai slowly made his way towards Farum. Don't make a fuss, Suzuan. No, I'm a child who's about to be lonely. Don't try to jump on Yusato. No, I won't. What? Did you just try to jump me at this point? It was a surprise? Amako speaks plainly to Senpai who react loudly. I saw it in my premonition. You're falsely accused of premonition. Yusato-kun. I'm sure you're not the only one. No, I mean. How much do you not trust me? I have a troubled reaction, and Senpai is shocked with Gabion. Well, I didn't expect that a few seconds ahead of me I would take such a bold action. No. Rather, isn't it destined to be carried out by the future me? Doesn't that mean that it's okay to do it now? Wait a minute, I'm going to get caught in the swing of the carriage and pretend to be a coincidence. Senpai is saying something very fast. Amako, who had been giggling at the exchange between me and her senpai, suddenly looks perturbed. Did something happen? Geez, I'm just kidding. Suzuan. If you decide to do so, hey? A joke. Yes. I was just teasing. I was taken aback. I knew it was a joke, but I was glad it wasn't a real prediction. Whether you prevent it or avoid it, it would be a disaster if Senpai got hurt in any way. Hey, that was a close one. I was just about to jump on you like this, if that's what the prediction says. Why are you so on the spot? That's dangerous. If he had continued, his joking prediction would have come true. Amako is also in a cold sweat, saying that she didn't foresee it that well, and she is still a terrifying person. Seeing Senpai returning to their seats maturely, Farum, who had almost been stuffed earlier, is letting out a sigh of relief. He is still keeping his distance from us, but... I wonder if he will be okay. The most important thing to remember is that you can't just sit there and wait for someone to talk to you, you have to talk to them. Yusato, can I talk to Farum for a moment? What? You? I'm surprised to hear Amako next to me whisper the suggestion. Amako was in the dormitory to take care of me when I fainted, but even then she didn't seem to be talking to Farum. It's probably the first time they've spoken properly, but will they be okay? I wanted to talk to him for once. He's just like me and Flina. Yes, that's true. You should talk to her. She's a good person, even if she doesn't talk much. Yes. Amako said and went to the empty seat next to Farum. I look away from the girls as she sits down next to Farum and the three of us start talking with Nak. Let's read a book to pass the time. I put my bag on my lap at my feet to take out the book that Nair told me to take with me. The majority of the luggage for the trip has been packed away elsewhere, so the only things in the bag are books and hand towels. In the meantime, as you try to get the journal of the hero you want, you will notice that your bag has moved. What's that? When I tilt my head back, a black ear and a small head pops out of a gap in my bag. Kukuru? What, you're here? Kukuru. The commander's pet, Kukuru the Noir Rabbit. I was actually looking for this guy before I left, but he was hiding in my bag. I should be angry at him for not coming out sooner, but I'm not so angry if I think he wanted to surprise me. Kukuru leaps out of his bag, runs his arm up my hand, and kicks the owl-like Nia off my shoulder with his back foot. Oops. Totally, this girl is... Ugh. Who? I quickly catch Nia with both hands, but the important thing is that she just does not wake up in a doze. I don't know what to do, so I keep it in my palm and warn Kukuru. Hey, don't start a fight. See you. Hey, if you're sorry, fine. He nudges Kukuru's head with his finger, disappointed. No, I know it's sweet, but I can't help but hate it. He knows this, and that's why he's a little devil. Yusato-kun. What's with that explosively cute girl? Yusato. Do you have another errand boy? Noir Rabbit? This is also very rare. I noticed that my senpai, Kazuki, and Leona were all looking at the Kukuru on my shoulder. My senpai, in a way, reacted as I had expected. Hey? Didn't I tell you? Come to think of it, I don't think I've taught you anything about Kukuru for some reason. It's no surprise that Leona doesn't know about it, and neither her senpai nor Kazuki came to the lifeguard quarters that many times. Kukuru itself is not moving around freely, and I've never seen you before. And now I'm fascinated. I'm sorry. Please speak to me in a language I understand. I understand, but I can't keep up with the momentum of... After crossing his arms as if he couldn't help it, the senpai switched to a crisp expression and held his hands out in front of him in a theatrical manner. Oh, Jet Black you. My heart has been stolen by those beautiful, fruit-red, sinful eyes. Who can say that in style? It's sad to say that Kukuru is the one who got it, although he almost won the heart of the same gender. The Kukuru, in fact, looks uninterested and is grooming itself. In the meantime, he points to Kukuru on his shoulder, paying attention to Nia on his left hand. This child is not my errand boy, but the commander's pet. As Leona-san said, it's a demon called Noir Rabbit, and its name is Kukuru. Hat, roses. What a surprise. Haha, I thought the same thing at first. I agree with Kazuki, who looks at Kukuru with interest. In fact, it's a demon that is both intelligent and unreasonable, suitable for Rose's partner. Well, it's definitely cute in appearance and gesture, and you can't help but be fooled. I never thought I'd see a Noir Rabbit here. You know them, don't you, Leona? Yes. I've heard that they are very timid and cautious. Because of their exceptional detection skills, they are rarely seen in the presence of humans. I've never seen one in person before. Cowardly? What? This guy? I think it's more like a rabbit that takes the initiative to try and trick you. You really are a demon's favorite, aren't you? Is that so? Leona says this when she sees Kukulu lazily sitting on her shoulder and Nia sleeping in her palm. Kazuki nodded in agreement. In the meantime, Senpai silently stared at us. I'm scared. Indeed. I'm not sure what to make of it. That child is also said to be Rose's pet, maybe she feels something close to Rose and misses her. Maybe she simply wants to fight with Nia, though. And he's always picking fights with her every time they see each other. As we were having this conversation, suddenly and without warning, Kukuru jumped off my shoulder. Kukuru. Q. He landed on my lap, jumped again and jumped on the lap of the senior student in the seat in front of me. Naturally, Senpai fell into a panic. Yusato, Suzumdano is looking at you as if asking for help. Yes. Senpai, that guy is basically harmless, so it's okay. The senpai was shocked beyond words and was unable to even move from the spot. Knowing or not knowing such a senpai, Kukuru, who had moved his head to scurry around on her lap, looked up, climbed up so that he could run down her arm, jumped on her shoulder and jumped on her head. Q. Yusato-kun, I can die now. I have no more regrets. What are you saying with your enlightened face, this guy? What happened to your trip to defeat the Demon King? Kukuru jumped happily on the head of the senior with a pitter-patter. The senpai looked full of life. Kukulu's behavior appeared to be the same as what he had previously done to Nia in her human state. Could it be? Kukuru, you only see senpai as a playmate like Nia? Kazuki and Leona, who were watching from the side, also noticed this, and glanced at me with an indescribable look on their faces. What to do? Q. Hey, don't be rude. Ha ha ha. Yeah, senpai seems to be happy and I think I can leave him alone until we reach the base. I look over at the two of them and lean my back against the carriage wall. I take out the hero's journal from my half-open bag, and with one hand, I roll the pages and read through the parts that Nia has deciphered for me. We are almost there. At the base are all the rescue squad and Rose. I'm worried because I've heard that Nero Agents has wounded you. To the base for the first time in about a week. Perhaps because the battle with the Demon King's army had been over for some time, the supplies and weapons in the base had been packed up, and the many knights were about to return to their respective countries. After getting off the carriage, we were divided into Senpai and Kazuki, who were to report to Sigurth-san on the details of the journey to defeat the Demon King, and me, who was going to meet Rose, my direct boss. Leona-san accompanied Senpai and Kazuki, while I was accompanied by Nia, Ferrum, Rescue Squad Nak, and Amako. Kukuru got out of the carriage and immediately went somewhere, but, well, I knew where he was headed, so I let him go. Is it right for me to come here? Nak, who looked around the base as we were heading to where Rose and the others were, muttered anxiously. The knights I passed had scowls on their faces as if they were exhausted, and some of them had blood-soaked bandages on. Just because the battle is over doesn't mean it's over. Talk to him to reassure him that he will be aware of this again. It'll be fine. If something goes wrong, all I have to do is take a beating. So you're assuming you are going to get punched, not get scolded. Amako looks stunned. To cheer up Nak, who is looking gloomy, I will tell him a joke here. Well, it ends with a beating, it's quicker that way. Ha ha ha. Oh, guys. I'm kidding, okay? It was a joke, so don't try to keep Nak away from me. Ferrum looks at me like, seriously, this guy. Meanwhile, Nia and Amako keep Nak, who is pulling away from me just as much as Ferrum is. As expected, I didn't say I'd rather be punched, either. It's just a quick way to get the thing done, you know? I know. Yusato likes pain, right? Do you want me to hit you? If I nod, I'm finished as a human being. I was told in a very gentle voice that I was going to get hit. Moreover, she has a rare bright smile. You are already finished as a species who is called a human being. Indeed. You're noisy. Vampire and demonkin girl over there. Seeing my reaction, Amako broke into a smile and touched both cheeks as she leaned forward. Just kidding. I wouldn't do that to you, Sato. Before I knew it, the joke was returned with a joke. I should come up with a milder joke next time. As we exchange these words, we can see the base of operations of the rescue squad. The many tents lined up in a row, the supplies piled up, though somewhat reduced. Yu Sato-kun. Among them, we find the figure of a woman who looked at us and raised a surprised voice. I waved to Yururu-san, the woman who dropped the box she was holding and came over to us. Amako, what's wrong? Well, this is okay, I guess. Ha. While listening to the conversation between Amako and Nia next to me, I tried to speak to Yururu-san, but she showed no sign of stopping. At the moment Yururu-san, who did not stop, caught me off guard, she jumped toward me with such force that it could be mistaken for a body blow. Sato-kun? I'm glad you're okay. Go. Even though Nia, who used to play a village girl, has done the same thing to me before, but the momentum is so strong. As I managed to step back and let the impact go so as not to hurt her, I noticed that Yururu-san is crying. I've been worried for a long time when I heard that Sato-kun collapsed and had to be carried to the kingdom. Yururu-san. Tong and the others weren't worried at all, but I couldn't help but feel uneasy. I'll hit those tough-looking guys later. They should at least worry about me a little. I've caused Yururu-san to worry. I know this person is not whiny, but she continued to heal the wounded on the battlefield until today. The burden and the anxiety she has had to this day must be considerable. Understanding that, instead of pulling Yururu-san off of me, I decided to wait until she stopped crying. After a little while, Yururu-san regained her composure and welcomed us into the base of operations with an embarrassed smile. Once inside the tent, there were few injuries. After the battle, this place would have been full of injured people, but I guess it means that everyone in the rescue squad had been working hard until today. Yururu-san, where is Olga-san? Unai-chan, collapsed yesterday. Where is he? When I say collapsed, I mean overworked. As long as he rests, he'll be fine. Besides, Sharon-san is with him. I see. That's good. Olga-san, who is frail, was healing people to the limit to the point of collapse. Yururu-san is also acting strong, but it is clear that she is quite forcing herself. The other members of the group were cleaning up supplies and disused tents, so we left the tent for the time being, only to find something approaching us. I look at Yururu-san and feel a bit of deja vu, but when I turn toward him, a blue mass approaches with thudding, heavy footsteps. Gruar. Blurin. Recognizing him, Blurin, I spread my arms wide to catch him as he leaps at me. Unlike with Yururu-san, thanks to being prepared in advance, he puts down Blurin without much recoil. Did you miss me? Gruar. Ha, don't bite, I'm happy to see you again. You're not causing trouble for everyone, are you? Guru. As if to say, of course, I stroked the bottom of Blurin's chin. Blurin really worked hard. He carried wounded people on his back, and he ran into the enemy with me. This guy didn't even back away when he just got rammed by Blurin, did he? When I was dealing with Blurin, who was playing around with his front paws, Ferrum muttered something like that behind me. I thought it was nothing to worry about and tried to let it pass, but then Nia and the others responded to her voice. That shouldn't be a surprise now, right? Yes. If it's Sato-san, well. You guys may be used to it, but I'm not. As for me, I'm not sure if I should be happy about that. Amako, can I leave Blurin to you? Fine, but... What do you want to do, Sato? It's time for me to go see the commander. Nak's coming too, right? Yes. Nodding to Nak, who replies, I ask Yururu-san where Rose is. Yururu-san, where is the commander? She's resting in the tent over there. I heard she was injured. It looks like she's still in a state where her injuries can't be healed yet. I think. But I think he'll be fine. But the commander is a person who forces herself as much as Sato-kun does. Well, there is no way that person would behave in a way that would make Yururu-san and the others uneasy. First, I would have to see Rose and ask her about the condition of the wound to know for sure. After a short break from Amako and the others, I walk with Nak to the tent where Rose is staying. The last time I saw her was when she was swallowed by the tornado created by NeuroAgents's lineage strengthening. From beginning to end, NeuroAgents was taking it easy on me. And even though he took it easy on me, I still got slashed on top of the magic resistance, if he got serious, I might have been killed without being able to do anything. When I heard that she was injured fighting such an opponent, how could I not have considered the possibility of what might have happened? In silence, we reach the entrance to the tent where Rose is supposed to be, and Nak and I speak out so that she can hear us inside. Commander, this is Yusato. I have just returned from the kingdom of Lingle. After a few seconds or so, a short reply comes back, come in the same voice as usual. I walked through the entrance and stepped into the tent with Nak to find Rose sitting on two wooden bunks that had been laid out. She wears her usual squad uniform over her shoulders, with a black inner garment underneath. Her wounds do not seem to have healed yet, as she supports her left arm as if it were threaded through a cloth around her neck. And, as might be expected, on her uninjured right shoulder was Kukuru, who had been with us not long ago. I just now changed the bandages. Q. Looking at it, a blood-soaked bandage is discarded on the bunk on which Rose is sitting. Nak gasps at the sight of blood. First of all, I should explain about bringing Nak with me. I've already heard that you and the heroes are going on a journey with a letter from the kingdom. Yes. I, a healing magic user, was chosen to support Senpai and Kazuki. After the battle, another battle, hey. Good grief, you don't have time to rest, do you? Ha ha ha. I gave a wry smile to Rose who sighed in amazement. She shifted her gaze from me, who was laughing, to Nak, who was nervous. I can guess it, but... Why did you bring Nak? I brought Nak here because we are going on a journey and he will be alone. Even though he is 12 years old, he is also a fine member of the rescue squad. We can't let him join the fight, but he should be able to help with the work here. When I put that much into words, Nak, who is standing by my side, steps forward. At the sight of Rose's gaze, he looks frightened, but he still raises his voice. I came here because I want to help everyone. I will never complain. After a moment of silence, Rose opened her mouth. Because you've come this far. Fine. Thank you. Alex and the others are cleaning up the base outside. Go help them. Yes. Nak's face lit up and he said, excuse me. He bowed deeply and walked out of the tent with a short run. After seeing his happy back, I turned to face Rose in front of me again. May I sit down? Suit yourself. I sit in the other bunk next to the one Rose is sitting in. Are you okay with your injuries? It's not as serious as it looks. It's not a problem for me as long as I behave properly. Are you sure you're okay? It's not like you're just being cheerful, is it? I heard that she got a slash on her left shoulder. She sighed at me, doubting that she was really well with that. Who do you think I am? What should I do? Those words alone make me think she is okay now. To tell the truth, I was really worried about her, but seeing her in front of me like this reminds me that my fears were groundless. Although she is my mentor, she is truly a supernormal person. Is the curse of the magic sword of Nero agents still remaining? The curse other than on me was lifted in about 4 days. What about the curse on you, Commander? The annoying thing is, it's still there. This. With a look of great disgust on her face, Rose put her hand on her left shoulder. That irksome guy, when I hit that blonde, I had no choice but to take his sword with my left shoulder, and he seemed to be putting a lot of force into it, too. I guess that has put a stronger curse on my shoulder wound than the others. So that's how persistent he is? I guess so. It's nothing more than a nuisance to me. Rose's expression of annoyance suggests that Nero's presence may be perceived by Rose as just another enemy standing in the way. Can the curse be lifted? It will take a little time, but it can be lifted. In the meantime, my left arm will be useless. Actually, I tried on the battlefield to see if I could manage to break it with Nia's release spell, but I couldn't. The power of Nero's magic sword is a curse, but it seems that it is not a magic curse, but a simpler one, a pure feeling of human hatred that is imprinted on the sword is a curse. I am not surprised that he can wield such a thing normally and remain unaffected by it. Isn't it likely that it's possessed by a ghost or something? At the very least, I would have been so freaked out the moment I held it that I would have smashed it on the spot. After thinking that far, I suddenly look at Rose's left arm and a thought comes to mind. If I were to fight you right now, would I win? Ha, if you think you can win, try it. Ah, it's impossible. Even if she can't use both arms, I can't imagine winning. I can easily imagine myself being kicked to the far side of the room with a full-strength spinning kick. Rose smiled happily at me as I quietly acknowledged my defeat. You seem to have gone on a rampage this time as well. For me, it wasn't my intention. Near death, being followed by an annoying stalker, and to top it all off, they call me devil baselessly, you know. Ha, the devil? That's pretty hilarious, oi. It's no laughing matter. Calling me the devil is not so widespread, though, so I don't mind. Whatever the case, I'm glad you made it back alive. Yes. Oops, you're not going to start crying this time. You bring that out now. When the first battle was over, I unconsciously cried when Rose praised me. I remember it vividly as an honestly embarrassing memory at the time, and my face gets hot when it is mentioned now. Haha, don't glare at me. My bad. As Rose laughed when she saw me, I felt even more embarrassed, and I tried to think of something to say back to her. Noon on the day we arrived at the base. After meeting Rose again, I next came face to face with the tough-looking guys. Although they still looked as horrifying as ever, I was inwardly relieved that no one was missing and that they had made it back alive. Well, after that, we almost got into a fight after the stirring, and Rose kicked me out of the tent, but that, well, is a familiar sight at the rescue squad, so it's probably not an unusual view. After exchanging greetings with all the members of the squad, I was called by Sigurd-san to the meeting tent in the center of the base. Passing through the banner, there were 4 people in the tent: Sigurd-san, Senpai, Kazuki, and Leona-san. Well, now that Usato-sama has arrived and we are all here, let's start the talk. The reason why the 4 of us were gathered here this time was to discuss the raid into the Demon King's territory tomorrow. Although the general plan was done in the Kingdom of Lingle, this base will be used to discuss other issues that may arise as we move into the Demon King's territory. The biggest problem is the great river that flows between the Demon King's territory and the human territory. Yet, we've already come up with a solution for this. Is that so? Senpai replies to Sigurd-san's words. Leona-san, the hero of Mialak, magically builds a hastily constructed bridge. Then, Usato-kun, who has been assimilated with Ferrum, will reinforce the bridge with black magic, and Nia will use her magic to make it resistant. With this, we should be able to build a bridge big enough for us to cross. To be honest, I doubt whether it is necessary for me to assimilate with Ferrum. No, if you want me to focus on the combination of Nia and Ferrum, should I be there? I really wish I could have helped. Mai and Kazuki-kun's magic are specialized in attacking, so it can't be helped. Kazuki has a light system that destroys anything he touches. Senpai has lightning system that manipulates powerful thunderbolts. Both are powerful magic, but not for building bridges. Famu. I understand the theory, but is it possible? I would like to ask your opinion, Leona-dono. Sigurd-san, who put his hand on his chin, asked Leona-san. We have confirmed the width of the great river itself, so it should not be impossible. If possible, it would be nice to see with my own eyes the proper place to build the bridge once it is in place. Then, would you like to go see the great river today? If you go now, you will be back before dark. Leona-san looks hesitant for a while at Sigurd-san's suggestion. Perhaps collecting her thoughts for a moment, she nodded to Sigurd-san. I guess so. I should probably go check it out myself first. May I borrow a horse? Of course. Is Leona-san going to go to the great river now to find a point to build a bridge? Well then, I better check with them too, since I will be involved in building the bridge. I raise my hand and talk to Sigurd-san, who is instructing his subordinate knight to arrange horses. Sigurd-san. Can I follow Leona-san too? I'd like to check on the great river, too. Understood. Then, let's also prepare a horse for Usato-sama. For some reason, Leona-san was surprised, but I was more surprised that a horse would be provided for me. No, wait a minute. I've never ridden a horse before. No need for a horse. I can't ride a horse. Mew? Then leave the reins to my subordinate Anne. No. As expected, I can't cause trouble for the night. Besides, it shouldn't be too far from here to the great river. I'm going for a run, don't worry. At that moment, the expressions of Sigurd-san and his subordinate knights hardened. And the very next moment, they gave me an enlightened look as if to say, "Ah, I see." Plains area. In front of the tattered wooden defense wall after the battle, Leona-san and I were getting ready to leave. I didn't think you'd come along too. If it's for tomorrow, then I should go too. Nia, perched on my shoulder in her owl form, fun, puffing her chest out in a good mood. As I was doing my preparation exercises with a wry smile on my face, Leona-san approached me on her horse, perhaps having finished her preparations earlier. Usato, I'm ready anytime. Yes, I'm ready, too. I think I understand your high physical prowess, but, it feels strange. Leona-san says such things with an indescribable expression on her face. You'd better get used to it. This guy starts doing even crazier than when he was in Mialak. When we were in the Beastman's country, whenever I took my eyes off of him for a second, he would come up with insane tricks. This owl. What a thing to say to Leona-san. To Nia's advice, Leona-san responds vaguely with concern for me. Good grief, how much you don't trust me. Let's hide the healing blast wave from Nia a little longer. Leona-san, it's time to go. Yet. Let's get going quickly before anything more is said. At the same time that Leona-san's horse starts running, I also jump forward. Hin. Leona-san's horse makes a funny cry when it sees me running alongside. You really are a monster when you have someone to compare yourself to, aren't you? And the horse did a beautiful double take. You'll bite your tongue. Nia mutters something like that when she sees me and the horse that Leona-san is riding alongside. While ignoring her words, I ran across the plains with the horse. The plains where the battle took place were in a terrible state. Although the bodies of the monsters had been cleared away, the wounds inflicted on the ground by the Demon King's last aerial attack were extensive. In the worst parts, the land was so burned up that one could not even tell that it had once been a grassland, reminding me once again of how powerful the Demon King's attacks were. We passed from the plains, where the aftermath of the battle remained strong, through a thick forest of trees, and soon arrived at our destination, the Great River. This is the place, is it? Yeah. You guys have seen similar rivers when you've been on a ship, haven't you? At that time, though, we met Suzune on the way and didn't come all the way here. A river flows under the cliff which has a certain height. I looked down at the wide, fast-flowing river and spoke to Leona-san. Did you find the ideal location? If the current is this bad, it should be safe to support it with ice. The question is where to hang it. The foothold is unstable here. Let's move. Got it. I follow her as she dismounts from her horse. I'll have to watch my step to make sure I don't accidentally fall off. Now that I think about it, it's strange. What is it? I remember the first time I met you. Although that time it was on a frozen lake, not a river. Speaking of the first time we met, is that when we fought the out-of-control Karen-san for the first time. At the time, I mistook Leona-san for a man. Now that I think about it, I did something really rude. At that time, you didn't have gauntlets yet, you were just some kind of ogre with a psychic resistance. I am not an ogre, you know. Ah, and before that, you just hit an ogre once and knocked it into unconsciousness, so you are not an ogre. Sorry. Ari? She apologized, but I don't feel like she apologized. The person in question seems genuinely apologetic, but for some reason, the words don't seem to fit her. You two are still as close as ever. That's obvious. Because I'm his familiar. If anything, there is no other familiar who can go along with his recklessness, except me. You're gonna say that much? Nia, in a good mood, flaps her wings against my cheek. No, it's true that she went along with my recklessness many times, but I don't think it's something to be that bragging about. As I am annoyed by the tickling sensation on my cheek, I notice Leona-san giggling happily as she walks along, pulling her horse. Leona-san. I've enjoyed talking with you guys. Enjoy, you said. It's refreshing for me to have this kind of casual exchange. I'm not aware that I'm saying anything that interesting, but, from the side, it may be quite an amusing sight. Having a good mood owl on my shoulder endlessly flapping at my cheeks is a moderately surreal sight. I joined this journey as a hero, but it was because of you that I was able to make that decision. Me. When I tilted my head at those words, Leona-san, who suddenly stopped her foot, let out a voice of awe. She turned to me in a bit of a panic and opened her mouth, moving her hands awkwardly. And no, I don't mean anything deep. It's just that it's reassuring to know that you participated in the war with me. How should I put it? Edo, do you mean that you are reassured by my presence as a healing magician? That's not right. I didn't make my decision because you are a healing magician. I can't say it well, but I assure you of that. Why yes. I was pressured by Leona-san, who corrected my misunderstanding with a serious look on her face. Can I assume that she participated because of me as an individual rather than me as a healing magician? I guess. Either Leona-san trusts me that much or she's worried about things. When I reflect on my own behavior, there's a good chance she's just plain worried. Yeah. Thank you. As for me, that. I'm glad to hear it. I see. I'm relieved that you thought so too. Leona-san's expression brightened from her anxiety and she looked back to the front. We've come to a halt, haven't we? It's time to move on. Right. This stubborn hero and training idiot. Both of them were clumsy and don't mesh well. Seeing me and Leona-san nod to each other and start to walk, Nia muttered such a rude thing in a whisper. What do you mean don't mesh well? I followed Leona-san with these questions in mind. Looks good here. Yusato, can you hold the reins? Okay. Then, Leona-san stopped and handed me the reins of the horse. Slightly freaked out, I accept the reins, and Leona-san crouches down on the spot and puts her hands on the ground. This looks like a good place for a scaffold. If it doesn't rain today, we can build a bridge here tomorrow. Do you want to put a marker on it? A marker? Yes, let's do it. Leona-san nodded at my words, stood up, and let the cold air drift into her palms. What in the world? Before I can even think about it, the color of the magic emanating from her hand darkens and its shape changes to that of a stick. System enhancement. When she muttered so, an ice spear formed in the air and pierced the ground. She is a better user than I am, and when I see her up close, the process of system enhancement is extremely detailed. Okay, this should help us find it quickly. Leona-san, who had wrapped a cloth around her ice spear, which was covered with a white haze, as a marker, turned around to face us. Won't it melt? It's due to the system enhancement, so it should last well until tomorrow morning. With such cold air around it, the monsters can't touch it, so there's no need to worry about losing it. And now that we've decided where to build the bridge, all we have to do is go home. Before I do that, I too will look at the other side of the river from the point where the cloth-wrapped spear flag is located. Let's see how far away it is, albeit visually. Looking at it again, it's quite far away. What's wrong? No, I think I heard the sound of a ravenous beast from the other side of the river. Nia, with a dubious expression on her face, listens as I do, and sure enough, I hear something whining from the other side of the river. The voice of a beast, neither human nor demon tribe. And there are quite a few of them. Sounds like monsters. All of them. The war may be causing the monsters to become more active. If we go to the other side of the river like this, we might be attacked. So, should we change locations? Nia shakes her head at Leona-san's words. If it's like that here, it's probably like that everywhere else. Then it's better to prioritize crossing safely. I guess that means I'll have to pay attention to what's going on the other side of the river tomorrow? Fortunately, we have a reliable partner, Blurin, who will drive the monsters away if we let him cross first. But the fact that the monsters are making noise over there means that they are also affected by the war. Yusato. Now that we have decided where to build the bridge, let's go back to the base. We have to report about the monsters on the other side of the river. Right. While handing the reins of the horse to Leona-san, I turn my back against the great river and start to walk away. Tomorrow, we will cross here and invade the Demon King's territory. It is a different journey from the letter-delivering journey, a journey with a mission to defeat the other party directly. There is no way that I myself can go forward with the same naive thinking that I have had up to now. I have to brace myself. When we cross tomorrow, maybe we should let Yusato go first. To ward off the monsters. Monsters basically don't attack their own kind who are superior in strength. Don't treat me naturally like I'm a monster. When I replied in a sullen tone, she seemed to feel bad and apologized to me in a lighter tone. I'm sorry. Don't be so sulky. But, you know, you, who have assimilated with Ferrum, are almost like a monster, right? That appearance is as similar as possible to Karen in his out-of-control state, right? Don't say scary things. When you put it that way, it's scary. Is that it? If I continue to assimilate with Ferrum, one day my body will no longer be human? Well, it is only said to be close, so it should not be that dangerous. Yusato-san. May I see Suzune-sama? It was a terrifying situation for me. After checking the great river that flows between the Demon King's territory and the human territory, I had returned and parted ways with Leona-san inside the base, returning to the rescue squad's base of operations. Departure to the Demon King's territory is tomorrow. Just as I was thinking that I would spend the night at the base, relaxing my mind, Kata-san came to visit me and asked me in a somewhat uneasy manner for such a thing. Oi, Kate! Don't trouble Yusato-san. Jurna-kun, who came to visit me with her, warned her. But that didn't stop Kate-san. Now is the only chance. If you stop me now, Jurna-kun, I will hold a grudge against you for the rest of my life. Could you please don't say scary things in a cheerful voice? Judging by the way Kate-san is acting, there shouldn't be any malice, right? I have to ask permission from senpai and others, but as for me, I can't ignore Kata-san's request, who has worked so hard to help the rescue squad until today. I get it. But can I ask permission from senpai first? Maybe she'll say no. I don't mind that. I'd rather have it that way. Well, so it's okay that way. I don't know, it's like being excited just to be near a celebrity, hey? But senpai is very popular too. In Helio, the popularity of women is usually very serious. If that's the case, let's get there as soon as possible. Jurna-kun, are you coming? I'm following along just in case this girl does anything. Jurna-kun points to the dreamy state of mind Kate-san and says so. Together with Kate-san and Jurna-kun, we left the rescue squad's base of operations and headed for senpai. As I was making my way through the torch-lit area, Kate-san spoke to me as if she suddenly remembered something. Come to think of it, there was something I wanted to ask Yusato-san after the war was over. The rumors about me and senpai are misunderstood. I'm not talking about that. I was wondering how Yusato-san became the healing magician that you are today. Kate-san's question makes Jernikun stiffen for a moment. A healing magician as I am now, you mean in that direction, right? But the problem is that Kate-san has taken out what looks like a notepad. What in the world is she going to write on it? Edo, what's the notebook for? To write down Usato-san training methods. For what purpose? Perhaps you yourself are trying to put it into practice. No. It is because I was asked to do so by the higher UPS in the kingdom when I was sent here. Oh my, this girl is amazingly honest. It's a different format, but it's the one I feared in the beginning. However, the lady in question, Kate-san, came to find out the inside of the rescue squad, but she seems to have been so fascinated with Senpai that she forgot about it until just now. In other words, fine play, by Senpai. Are the Helio trying to make healing magicians like me and the commander? Is that so? I think it's impossible. You don't have to deny it. Are you not aware that you're a spy? Spy? Enough. Jernikun retorted at Kate-san, who tilted her head, and he looks tired. So, who's the higher UPS? Princess Naya. It was Kyle-sama and the Prime Minister, not Naya-sama. I see. I didn't expect it was Prince Kyle. How should I judge? Is this an attempt to find out my secret as a healing magician? Considering that they sent her to me right after the meeting, it seems like too much of a quick move, but it's not surprising if you think that they were burning with rivalry. Kate-san. When you return to Helio, do you have a chance to have an audience with Princess Naya? I heard that Naya-sama is very busy. If it were Kyle-sama, I would be able to see him at a reasonable hour. Prince Kyle. No, I'm sure it's different now, maybe. But is it not so easy to meet Princess Naya? Then is it possible for you to just give her the notebook? I can do that. They may check the contents for inspection, though. Then, can you lend me that notebook for a moment? Yes. I stop in my tracks and pick up the pen I had tucked in, conversely surprised that she handed me the notebook without hesitation. The content is, this text is written by me and to ask that the healing magician not be subjected to harsh training and that the healing magician who was sent Kate-san not be harmed in any way. Also, although not so much an alternative, I noted that instead of raising healing magicians like us, it would be better to raise healing magicians who specialize in healing, such as Olga-san and Yururu-san. In addition, I will write as much detail as possible about how much healing magicians like Kate-san have played an active role in this war, and appeal the usefulness of their work. This is all right. Here you go. Thank you very much. Why yet? Why did she thank me? Is that an autograph or something? Once we start walking again, we soon arrive at our destination. There were several small tents lined up in a row, with a campfire in the center of them brightly illuminating the surroundings. There she is. In the light of the campfire, I find Senpai, Leona-san, who is sitting on a log that has been used as a chair, and Kazuki, who is sitting the same way across from the campfire. For now, let Kate-san and Jernikun wait on the spot and I approach the three. Isn't it Usato-kun? What's wrong? At the sound of Senpai's voice noticing me, Kazuki and Leona-san look at me. While scratching my cheeks in trouble, I reply to Senpai. Actually, there's a girl who wants to meet Senpai. A girl who wants to meet me. It seems she's a passionate fan of Senpai. When I said so in a rather joking manner, Senpai, who put her hand on her forehead, let out a giggle. A passionate fan, huh? Then, as a hero, I must live up to that expectation. Does that mean it's okay? Of course. Leona, are you ready? Suzuan. I have nothing to do with it. Today's tension is even higher. Leona-san next to her is in total bewilderment, but when did they start calling each other by name? Anyway, I get her consent and I beckon to the two behind me. Then Kate-san, with a sparkle in her eyes, comes running over to us on a short run. Usato-san. Thank you very much. Don't worry about it. Now, go talk to Senpai as much as you want. The person next to Senpai is Leona-san. She's a hero of Mialak. And the one in front of me is Kazuki, another hero of the Lingal Kingdom. Another hero, Kazuki-sama and Leona-sama, who solved the big incident that happened in Mialak together with Usato-san. What fortuitous luck! I won't complain if someone tells me I've already used up a lifetime's worth of luck. After thanking me deeply once again, Kate-san made her way to the senpai, who was beckoning her with a smile. Suzune-sama, Leona-sama. It is my pleasure to meet you. I'm a healing magician from Helio Kingdom. My name is Kate. Your name is Kate. Nice to meet you, I am Inyakamai Suzune. I'm a hero of the Kingdom of Lingal. I am Leona. Mialax, hero. Senpai confidently introduces herself, and Leona-san shyly identifies herself. Kate-san, in front of the two contrasting people, is overjoyed. Somehow it seems to be okay. Oh Ayusato. Kazuki, who is sitting on a separate log from Senpai and Leona-san, is raising his hand. I'm coming. Come on, Jurna-kun, you too. Is that okay? I don't mind at all. Besides, we're close in age. Together with Jurna-kun, I approach Kazuki and sit down in an open space on the log. There's plenty of space for 3 people to sit down. Yusato, who is he? Jurna-kun, who came from the kingdom of Nirvana to reinforce the rescue squad. He's a healing magician like me. It is nice to meet you, I am Jurna. I know Kazuki-sama very well, as you have visited Nirvana. Jurna-kun bowed his head in awe, and Kazuki scratched his cheek as if he too was troubled. Ieto, you don't have to add Sama, okay? From your looks, we're the same age, and there's no need to force yourself to speak formally in honorifics. No, that kind of. Having Jurna-kun, who is about the same age as me, speak to me in a polite manner makes me itch a little too. Regardless if it's someone who uses polite dialect on a daily basis, like Hafasan from Luxie's, but Jurna-kun's usual way of speaking is different. It's a little late, but you don't have to speak to me in a polite way either. I don't mind if it's the same tone as when we first met. You unders. Got it. Well then, a pleasure to meet you once again. Jurna. Kazuki smiles brightly at Jurna-kun, who nods in puzzlement. Kazuki then turns his attention to Senpai and others who are talking across the campfire. Did Yusato come here to take that girl to see Senpai? Right. She's a healing magician from Helio. She asked me if she could see Senpai, so I brought her here. I see. Senpai was adored before, but it looks like it's no different in this world. That before means? Yeah, that's what I meant. Perhaps out of consideration for Jurna-kun, Kazuki blurred the wording. By before, I assume he means the world before we were summoned. But I guess she was looking forward to it. I've been hearing about heroes at every opportunity for the past week. That much, as expected of Helio's people. At Jurna-kun's dejected look, even Kazuki smiles bitterly. Since Helio has a heroic faith, Kate-san's degree of obsession may be in some ways obvious. Looking at it from the side, though, it looks like they're just absurdly happy to see a celebrity. Yusato saw the Great River during the day, didn't you? What was it like? That's right. From what I saw today, the current wasn't that fast. It was a little wide, but with Leona-san's magic, I don't think it would be hard to build a bridge. I see. I'm a little relieved, because it would be a big problem if we stumbled before entering the Demon King's territory. Ha ha ha, indeed. If that happens, we'll probably figure out another way, but we'll certainly be stuck there for nothing. You two are going to an awesome place. From Jurna-kun's point of view, what kind of place is the Demon King's territory? Or rather most people, don't know what the Demon King's territory is like. We have been hating each other for hundreds of years. Saying that, Jurna-kun stares at the bonfire. In my imagination, a demon race is a terrifying subhuman race. Maybe it's because I've been told the legends of my ancestors who fought against the Demon King's army when they were the previous generation of heroes, but even without that, this battle made me, honestly tremble from the bottom of my heart. Nirvana is a country with many warrior people. Such a country might have boldly challenged the Demon King's army in the days of the previous generation of heroes. That is, against the Demon King army led by the terrifying Demon King who did everything he could to be as villainous as it was written in his notes. I shouldn't have said this to the two of you who are leaving tomorrow. I'm sorry. No, that was informative. Thank you. Kazuki shook his head at Jurna-kun who apologized with an apologetic look. People's perception of the demon race in this world is that they are terrifying beings, but on the other hand, what about the perception that demon race has of humans? Maybe the demon race thinks humans are scary, too. Suzune-sama, I was there. At that moment, I suddenly heard such a voice in front of me. Looking closely, I see Kate with a twinkle in her eye, talking to Senpai. However, Senpai's expression seemed somewhat twitchy. That place is, where is it? Suzune, your voice is shaking. What's wrong? Leona-san tilts her head at the Senpai, who is somewhat upset, as if she had somehow guessed what to expect. Whether or not she knew how upset she was, Kate-san spoke right on through. It's the same place where you cut Prince Kyle's confession in two. A hole. Gaha. Yusato. Suzune clutches her chest and collapsed. Senpai looked at Kate-san's and my face alternately, and when her face turned bright red, she burst out spewing as it was. Leona-san, who supported her as she was about to fall backward, calls out to me for help, but the person in question is shaking her head frantically. Well, we can manage somehow. For now, the Demon King, the Demon Race, and the Demon King's territory must be seen with my own eyes or else it cannot begin. Seeing Senpai making a fuss in a positive way, I felt somewhat relaxed and stood up to help her. The day of departure. After giving Blurin to carry some supplies and other things, I said goodbye to Olga-san, Ururu-san, Nak, and the tough-looking guys who had gathered at the rescue squad's camp. Usato-kun, I hear that you got another difficult mission. Olga-san, is your physical condition okay? I woke up this morning and was concerned for Olga-san who came to see me off. His physical exhaustion may be subsiding, but his heart, which has healed more people than anyone else, is exhausted. My words of concern bring a powerless smile to Olga-san's face. If it's just a little activity, it won't be a problem. As for me, I'm worried about Usato-kun and Unii-chan. I understand your feelings of wanting to see Usato-kun off, but don't overdo it. Ha, sorry for worrying you. Ururu-san muttered so unhappily. Then, from behind her, a group of tough-looking men in a stern atmosphere smiled. Putting aside Olga, I think worrying about this guy is useless. Yet, because he did another crazy stuff on the battlefield the other day. It wouldn't have been surprising if anyone had called him the devil. I mean, he was flying. He was more of a monster than I was. Well, in fact, I heard that both the demon race and the monsters were scared of him. Even at a time like this, they don't change, these bast *RDS. They probably saw me several times as I was running around the battlefield. Even from me, I could see the movements of the guys dressed in black. I keep smiling as I secretly hold my fist down at the humanoid monsters who, speaking one after another, make baseless statements against me, starting with Tong. Well, if you put it that way, it can't be helped. That's right. It's Usato. It can't be helped. Gryu. I guess I don't have any allies? Nia, Ferrum, Amako, and, unexpectedly, Blurin, in turn, all agree. But, well. Should I give the source of the problem, Tong, a blow after saying a few words? Or so I thought, but he continues, trying to tell me something. I know you're a nice little brat, but when you're not around, there's no tension. I ain't worried about you one bit, so go and clear out the Corps Commander or the Demon King and come back home. When Tong says so, the others give evil smiles that would make even adults start to cry. It was a smile that hadn't changed since I first came to the rescue squad, a smile that traumatized me, but at the same time was more familiar to me than anything else. Haha. Unable to hold back the smile that welled up, I brushed my hair with my hand holding my eyes. Except for the tough-looking guys, everyone else looks at me and turns pale, but I don't let that bother me and look at Tong and others. When I get back, you better be ready. I'll give you the privilege of a superior officer to accompany me to hell training. Ha, bring it on. You monster. We exchange words with each other as our smiles deepen. I broke off the conversation, no further words necessary, and then shifted my attention to Nak, who still had a pale face. Nak. Yet. What's with that? I shouldn't be afraid, but I'm afraid by instinct. Look. As I tilted my head at Nak, who reacted as if his mind and body were moving in opposite directions, Amako, the girl next to me, tugged at the sleeve of my clothes. Usato. Your face and atmosphere look seriously crazy. It's not Rose anymore, more like Usato's own unique. What do you mean by my own unique? Indeed, I am not like Rose, but... For now, rub both cheeks with my hands to restore the expression. The expression is restored to normal. To make sure, I turn to Amako and ask her. Is it back? Yet. The usual Usato. The ogre factor is down. What is the ogre factor? Is it something that can be measured? I wondered, then regained my composure and spoke to Nak. Nak, take care during my absence. Why yes. I'll do my best in training. Nak straightens his back and responds loudly. I still can't do the healing punch or healing magic bullet, and I still have a lot to learn from you, Usato-san, in order to find my own unique healing magic. Usato. Alright. Nak, I'll definitely come back, no matter what, so you should do your best too. Grow up together and meet again. Yes. Nia's voice, which is so low that I can't imagine it normally, causes my shoulders to involuntarily shudder. Oh, shoot. Nia found out that I taught Nak some tricks in secret. His words of enthusiasm as he finds his goal and the path he should pursue make me happy from the bottom of my heart, but the presence of Nia that I feel behind me, she unintentionally makes a squeak. After that, the greeting ended without much closing. But for me, that's probably a better one. Instead of being sad and wistful about the goodbye, smiling and renewing the determination to go on a journey and return seemed more like me. To get to the location of the Great River, travel was by horseback. The members of the journey, including me, Sigurd-san and the two knights who had come to see us off, and Rose were to head there, but only I made the same decision to run as I had yesterday. I realize now that I had the idea of taking a ride on the Blurin, but today due to space limitations only Amako was able to ride, probably because of the travel luggage on its back. Rose had a shoulder injury, so she was riding a horse normally, but when she saw me running, she unusually held her head up and muttered, "I'll teach you how to ride a horse when we get back." So the Demon King's territory is at the other end of this river. As I have heard, I can hear the cries of monsters all over the place. We have to be careful when we cross. Responding back to Senpai who is looking at the other side of the river. From that side, I feel the presence of monsters everywhere, just like yesterday. Then, Yusato. Let's quickly build a bridge. Yes. Well then, Nia, Ferrum. Yes. Understood. Ferrum nodded at my words and was engulfed by black magic power as she sank into her own shadow and assimilated with my body. Nia transforms into an owl and jumps on my shoulder. I look at my legs, which have been transformed into a leg armor, turning into a figure that allows transformation, high speed, and outbursts of magic from the whole body, and I tilt my head. What's wrong? No, I was thinking that the legs could go back to their normal shape. The leg armor makes a clattering sound when running, which is a bit inconvenient. I think it looks cooler this way, but if you insist, I'll just revert it to its original form. When Ferrum, who is inside me, says so, the leg armor transforms and turns into a pitch-black boot. As I tapped the ground with my toe to check my condition, Rose, who had come to see me off, put her right hand on my chin and looked at me, who had assimilated firm, with interest. "Ho, so this is the form that I've been hearing about." "Yes. This is a form that assimilates the dark magic of Ferrum, and although it has no direct offensive power, it seems to be able to do a lot more. You really grow up differently than I assumed you would." "Well, the master is the master. They say the pupil is like the master." Ha, what a joke. While exchanging light banter with Rose, having finished my preparations, I call out to Leona-san, who is holding Falgasama's spear in her hand. "Leona-san, we're ready." "Mew, got it." Then, as planned, I will use my magic to build a quick bridge. "Everyone, stay away from the river." Leona-san, who had warned us to stand back, swung her spear widely in one hand to create 8 ice spears. System strengthening. When Leona-san mutters that, the 8 ice spears begin to be covered with an intense cold air. They move according to her will, lining up in a row on the other side of the river, opposite to where we are. After confirming that the ice spear had moved into position, she dropped it directly into the river. "Ice release." She pointed the tip of her spear at the river and shouted, and the next moment 8 pillars of ice shot out from the great river. Did the ice spears contain system strengthening activate underwater to create a path for the bridge? I was overwhelmed by the tremendous skill and the strength of the system strengthening, though I could understand it in my head, when I noticed that Leonazan, who had her spear blade clothed with magic power, was moving into a cleaving stance. "Keep going, one more time." As it is, the ice magic is unleashed forward to the 8 pillars with a cleave. Shaking the atmosphere, the magic power blows so much that it could be mistaken for a blizzard to the other side of the river. When the white haze created by the magic power cleared, there was an ice bridge supported by 8 pillars. As expected of the hero of Mialak. Other than Rose, who was normally impressed, no one was able to raise their voices because of the surprise. What can I say? I'm so glad Leona-san is on our side, yet. The ice bridge is about 3 meters wide and seems strong enough to easily accommodate even Blurin. Leona-san placed her palm on that bridge and poured her magic power into it, then turned to me. "Yusato. I count on you." "Why yet?" "Ferrum, Nia, let's do it." Kneeling next to Leona-san, I placed my hand on the ice bridge in the same way she did, while Ferrum applied a black reinforcement sash to the bridge and Nia cast a shock resistance spell on the ice bridge. I nod to Leona-san and tell Senpai and the others behind me that the bridge is now crossable, as I have put a web of black magic around the area where the bridge is to be walked on to prevent slipping. If it is about to break, at worst I will be able to hold it together by brute force. 2 people at a time are preferable, so the first one is Blurin, who can threaten monsters, and, Kazuki. Then Amako and Senpai. Then Leona-san. Lastly, we'll go in that order. "Hey, Yusato-kun? Just now, didn't you just avoid letting me and Blurin cross?" "Why?" I avert my eyes from Senpai, who is glaring at me. With a wry smile at us, Kazuki approaches Blurin. "Well then, Blurin. Let's go." "Gruu. Oh, you're motivated. Ha ha ha." Kazuki smiled refreshingly at Blurin, who snorted. While thinking that it's a rare combination, I prepare to use black magic in case something happens. "Then, I'll go first." "Yusato. Grua. Yet. Be careful not to fall." Kazuki and Blurin carefully cross the ice bridge, which is covered with black magic. However, the bridge does not budge even when a big Blurin walks on it. After confirming that Kazuki had safely crossed over to the other side of the river and waved at us, Senpai and Amako stepped out in front of the bridge. "Amako, if you're scared, you can hold on to me? Rather, should I hug you? Even if you say it in a cool voice, it's no. Let's just quickly get going, Suzuan. Yo-hole, Amako is cold to me. And Senpai and Amako also cross the bridge safely. The only ones left are me, Nia, Ferrum, and Leona-san, who are maintaining the bridge. Well then, Leona-san. Leave the rest to me, you go first. Yet. From looking at the strength of the bridge, it looks like it would be safe to cross it normally. Leona-san, who had taken her hands off the bridge and stood up, also crossed the bridge. Even though it is no longer in her hands, the bridge created by the system strengthening ice still continues to exist. Well, we're next. Well, if the worst happens and the bridge breaks, you'll be fine. Rather, it looks like you can swim and go to the other side of the river normally. It's not impossible, but it's better to be safe than sorry. As I answer that to Nia on my shoulder and Ferrum on the inside, I too prepare to cross the bridge. The resistance spells are still working, but the black magic is removed, so I make magic spikes on the soles of my feet to prevent myself from slipping over here. Yusato. When I was about to cross, Rose called out to me from behind. Yes. Commander. Just in case I came here to see you off, but I guess there's less need to say anything to you than I thought. Rose with her left arm through a cloth hanging from her neck. She looked at my whole body again and let out a smile. On your journey from now on, you will be forced to make choices that will affect your future. What does that mean, affect my future? I don't know about that. But I'm sure it's going to be important to you. Yes. I nodded at Rose's words. Considering the journey ahead and its purpose, it is not surprising that such a choice is being forced upon us. What should I do at that time? Do what you want. You can choose what you think is right. You can choose all the choices you are given, or you can choose not to choose. Yet. Rose laughed at my confused look and patted my head firmly with her right hand. Don't narrow your possibilities, Yusato. Act with faith in the ideals you have thought about and the answers you have come up with, not in the answers given to you by some other guy. Yes. Nia, Ferrum. It's also the same for you too, you know. Why yet? Why yes. The guiding ideal and answer I have thought about. Once again, I let Rose's words reverberate in my heart. Go, Yusato. I'm off. I replied to Rose and turned to face forward, stepping firmly on the icy ground as I moved forward. Journey to the Demon King's territory. I had fears and anxieties, but Rose's words blew them all away. Without being misled by anyone's words, I will look at the Demon King's territory and the demon race with my own eyes and come up with my own answer. I don't know what awaits me in the future, but I have friends I can rely on. That alone gives me something called courage. Seal, I have a favor to ask you. Will you listen to me? It was shortly after the return of the Demon King's army. Demon King Sama said that to me, who was the Demon King Sama's maid. The location is on top of a castle overlooking the castle town, but the unexpected words of Demon King Sama made me think for a moment that my ears had gone crazy. Demon King Sama, what did you just say? A favor to you. In other words, I asked you to do me a favor. Demon King Sama asked me to do something for him? Currently, Demon King Sama, who has used up a huge amount of his magical power, is living with the least amount of power that he had exerted on the Demon King's territory in order to recover from that. Perhaps because of that, Demon King Sama's range of activities has expanded from the castle's halls to outside, and he now walks outside more than before. But a request from Demon King Sama. And it was practically an order disguised as a mischievous favor. Wondering what unreasonable orders would come my way, I secretly made up my mind to write a will to my mother, with whom I had had a quarrel in my hometown. I don't know why you look so deathly afraid, but it's not that difficult. Can you head over to this place now? Demon King Sama took out a map from the magic circle floating in space and showed it to me. There is a detailed map of the Demon King's territory and a red marker on it. Where is this? This is where our army used to have its stronghold. I want you to check this place out a little bit. From the looks of it, it is in a moderately remote location. However, it was a request from Demon King Sama. There was no way I could refuse. As his maid, I serve closest to him and I can tell that Demon King Sama is not aware that he is giving orders. It is simply because he trusts me, that he is asking me to do it. This is bad. Why me? I'm just a maid. Famu. There's also the fact that I trust you. I would like to hear your perspective about that place. Don't worry, I'll get you an escort. Ha! My heart flutters for a moment when I hear that he trusts me, but the way he says it, somewhat implicitly, makes me uneasy. Demon King Sama, did you call for me? Then, another person other than us appears in the fortress. When I turned around, there he was, a silver-haired demon, Koga Dingle-san, the commander of the Second Corps. I had heard that he had lost his left arm in the battle, but he was raising his left arm, supposedly not in a casual manner. Koga. Is your left arm all right? It's not a problem at all. In fact, I even feel more comfortable with my magic than before. The blackened left arm of Commander Koga transforms and wriggles like a living creature, turning into a sharp blade. I realize that his arms are not the real ones, but made by dark magic, and I involuntarily think, ugh, but he doesn't even bother to worry about it, and smiles happily. So, why was I summoned here? I wanted to ask you to escort my maid. Escort? Going somewhere? This is the place, apparently. Commander Koga looks at the map in my hand. Demon King Sama spoke to Koga, who nodded with interest. Now that we're reorganizing the army, you're probably bored, aren't you? It is more convenient for us to keep you moving than to let you rot here. Besides. Once Demon King Sama cut off his words, he looked at Commander Koga and twisted the corner of his mouth in a small smile. Where you are going as an escort, things might get interesting for you, you know. Demon King Sama is really good at getting people on board. I accept the assignment of an escort. Commander Koga receives an escort mission with a dangerous smile. Demon King Sama seems satisfied, but as for me, I'm honestly afraid of Commander Koga. After all, he was famous for not doing his job, and it was rumored that he had been in a fist fight on the battlefield with a dangerous healing magician named Usato of Rescue Squad, while laughing. Then I leave it to you. You may increase the number of guards. I leave it to your discretion. Leave it to me. After saying that much, Demon King Sama returned to the castle, leaving Koga and I on the spot. While I am freaked out, I look at Commander Koga, who is smiling at the castle town. You Commander Koga. Yeah, you're not my subordinate, and you're Demon King Sama's important maid. You can call me Koga if you want. So, Koga-san. What are we going to do now? Are we leaving right away? In response to my question, Commander Koga no, Koga-san crosses his arms as if pondering. Well, we can leave right away, but first I'll try to invite someone I can take with me. I'm sure I'll be enough of an escort, but you never know what might happen. I am genuinely surprised that he thinks it through surprisingly well. Although he is younger than me in terms of age, he seems to be more solid than I had heard. First of all, it's obvious that the Demon King Sama is expecting something to happen when he assigns me, the core leader, as an escort. If that's the case, I should bring someone of my worth to escort. Who? I'm not sure about Amira, she started training with Old Man Nero as soon as she got back. If she can't, then Old Man Gillette, who seems to be relatively free and can fight well, is also no good. If that guy goes away, the demon army will fall apart. After thinking about it for a few seconds, Koga-san made a surprised face. His expression was that of a child of his age, which changed my impression of him just a little. All right, let's go now. Wait a minute. Koga-san immediately acts on his ideas. I followed Koga-san while wondering who he would ask for an escort. The place where Koga-san headed was the soldiers' quarters outside the castle. At present, wounded soldiers are being treated and their respective units are being rebuilt, and even here, where the soldiers live, the streets are less crowded. The old man Gillette is taking the lead in rebuilding the army, but I wonder how long it will take. At least, it seems that Demon King Sama is thinking of organizing an intercepting force, not a marching force. As a maid, have you heard anything about that? No, in my position, I don't hear many of those talks. I look at Koga-san as we walk between the quarters, which were built for different units. In fact, I have been concerned about a healing magician who has been rumored among the Demon King's army for some time. I cannot confirm whether it is a lie or not, because I am a maid who does not go to battle, but if he has actually met and fought, he might be able to tell me a story. With that in mind, I mustered up a little courage and decided to ask Koga-san about the healing magician of the Lingual Kingdom. Koga-san. What? Edo. I'm Seal. I was wondering about the rumor about the healing magician circulating in the Demon King's territory, is that a true story? Oh, it's true. It was easily affirmed. As my cheeks twitch, Koga-san squints his eyes happily and goes on to talk about healing magicians on his own. That guy. He's really a dangerous guy. Even though he is a healing magician, he also tries to engage me in a physical battle. The first time we fought, he used a shockwave with his healing magic, based on some incomprehensible principle. Shockwave with healing magic. I found out afterwards that I didn't expect it to be the impact of a deliberate outburst of system strengthening. Outburst of system strengthening. Well, he was pretty good even before he used it. I was wearing dark magic, and he was hitting me at close range. Well, it was really fun at that time. Wait, I can't keep up with understanding. Human? We're talking about human being, right? And the next time we fought, he assimilated my former subordinate. Assimilated. To put it another way, it's a combination. He had taken in the power of dark magic. And his entire body was bursting with magic power from all over. I have to admit, the kick he gave me almost knocked me unconscious with a single blow. Taking in dark magic. Where is the healing magic element? It's no use. I can't picture that healing magician as a human being from what I've heard. The image of something that has a 3-meter tall, muscular, human-shaped is fixed in my mind. I heard he did a lot of things after he fought me, but, well, I guess most of them are true. Like tentacles, devil's wings, or even riding on the back of a blue grizzly that turned into a chariot and trampling monsters. I ain't seen it, but I'm sure it's true. I think it's less likely to be true than not. In his case, it's an amazing trust. I wonder, if there is something more than a completely hostile opponent when Kagazan speaks about him. Well, some of the people have been traumatized by that guy. Yusato in many ways. Like, he knocked off the flying dragon, or he grabbed an arrow I fired at point-blank range, and then knocked it down, and this time alone, he's been on quite a rampage. Even though he's your enemy, you talk happily about him. The opponent, like the hero, is an existence that opposes the demon race. When Koga-san said happily about it, I ended up saying something a little bit harsh. He's my favorite opponent. The stronger he gets, the stronger I get. Well, it may be annoying to him, but we are enemies, so I don't care. Oi, wait, stop blatantly distancing yourself from me. I pulled back normally. I felt a little sympathy for the healing magician named Yusato, even though he was an enemy. Returning to the topic, it's about trauma. There is one person in there who is particularly bad. I mean, she's the head of our third corps. Is it Hanasama? Hana Lomia. A woman who is the newly appointed commander of the third corps and a user of illusion magic. A person skilled in the art of entrapment and wisdom. When I met her in front of the Demon King Sama, she was someone I thought was both cool and a little scary at the same time. Well, she got carried away and tried to cast an illusion on Yusato. But for some reason, it seems that the illusion didn't work on him, so instead, she got startled and caught by him. Ha ha ha, it's a masterpiece. What is it? Resistance to illusions. Isn't he the devil or something already? How can one acquire such resistance, such as resistance to illusions? Is it that thing? Is it okay if I continue to be shown powerful illusions endlessly? If I did that, it would definitely break my spirit, though. So I was wondering if I could take Hana with me as an escort. Maybe, the place we're heading to right now is Hana's place. Look, it's just coming into view. Looking in the direction to which Koga-san points, we see a building one size larger than the quarters of the other soldiers. Although somewhat outdated, the exterior itself does not differ from that of the dormitory. First, at the door, Koga-san said, "Hana. It's Koga. Open the door." And calls out to Hanasama, but there is no response. So Koga-san tilts his head. No one replied. Is she in the back? Ah, you shouldn't go off on your own. Not caring, he proceeds to the back of the building. Wondering if this quick action and decision-making is the reason why he is the commander of the second corps, I followed him and found a beautifully arranged flower bed at the back of the building. And then, I find a woman crouching in one of the flower beds with her back turned towards us. Phew, if it's a nutrient-rich soil outside the Demon King's territory, it will grow fine. Phew. There was Hanasama, the leader of the third corps, tending the flower beds with a shovel in one hand, while letting out a sinister giggle, as if she was doing a wicked deed. It was so different from the image I had of the commander of the Third Army that not only I, but even Koga-san, was at a loss for words. Phew. When she finally noticed our presence, she looked at her hand and at us alternately, and her face turned pale at once. Seeing that, Koga-san turned a big smile to Hanasama while giving a thumbs up, as if he was trying to be considerate. It's surprising, but hey, it's a cute hobby. Koga-kun. It's like an old lady. I think it's fine. Why did this person make an accurate, exaggerated stab? Without saying a word, Hanasama generated countless purple magic bullets. Koga-san hurriedly added a few words of excuse, a kind of agitation. In the face of the flood of magic bullets, my heart was already about to collapse at this point. Koga-san, who was in a good mood, gave an extra-large stir to Hanasama, who was fiddling with the soil in the flower bed. Naturally angered, Hanasama attacked Koga-san and me with a large number of magic bullets by illusion. I was prepared to die in an unfamiliar situation, but just before the magic bullet hit me, Koga-san made the magic bullet disappear with a tentacle-like object made of dark magic, so I managed to stay unharmed. And I can't. Unlike you, I'm busy. The location is a room in a building owned by the corps leader, Hanasama. When she regained her composure and listened to the reason why Koga-san and I had come to this place, Hanasama answered immediately without even having to think about it. Well, I thought it was obvious. Why? Don't you have enough free time to play with the soil? Are you silly? I take advantage of the few hours I have to take care of my vegetable garden after I do what I have to do as the commander of the Third Army. Oh. Koga-san with a subtle expression, as if to say, do you really enjoy doing that much? Seeing him like that, she let out a sigh. If it is the order of the Demon King Sama, then I have no choice but to accept the responsibility of escorting her, but it was Koga-kun's decision to increase the number of guards, and it was the maid there who actually received the order. That's right. Since it is only me who was asked by the Demon King Sama, I myself must go to the destination and see it. I thought, but isn't this pretty unreasonable? Even though I'm a maid who doesn't even know how to fight. In addition, I made the great mistake of being taken prisoner by the enemy in the last war. Ah, you Sato Kog. At that moment, a hand stretched out without a sound and grabbed Koga-san's chin. He was caught off guard by an unexpected hand from Hanasama, who was supposed to be his ally, and his eyes widened. Please don't mention that name. How are you going to take responsibility if he accidentally comes flying here? Comes flying here? What? Of course it is the DDDD devil in the skin of that healing magician. Ha! Her voice trembling more than ever, Hanasama said so, shaking with fear and holding her head. The way she kept saying forgive me and I'm sorry in rapid succession was not normal. Between illusion and reality, the white figure with the wings of the devil, accompanied by the bird of ill omen, emerges from the darkness. Koga-san. Isn't this bad? She's muttering something that sounds like she's about to summon something. What did he do, seriously? Well, for now. As expected, Koga-san panicked and slapped the distraught Hanasama lightly with his hand. With a gasp, she comes to her senses and looks up with a scowl on her face. I'm sorry. I was distraught. No, it wasn't at the level of distraught. You were deranged. Let's continue the talk. Oi, are you ignoring me? In a complete change from her earlier behavior, she clears her throat and continues the talk. It was originally a blunder that could have cost me my position as commander of the Third Corps, but considering the current situation of the Demon King's army, Demon King Sama told me to continue as commander of the Third Corps. You know what that means, don't you? Sort of. So I cannot throw away my role because there is no more left for me. If I blunder once more, I must give this life to the Demon King Sama. As expected, Demon King Sama doesn't seem to want it that far. Hanasama says such a thing to me with an impassioned look on her face, and I, not daring to deny it, remain silent and listen to her. Even the First Corps commander went away to train Amira while his wounds were still healing. I and Gillette, the assistant to the First Corps commander, have to do our best here. Koga-kun is usually useless, and even more so. Isn't that a little more harsh than when we first met? No, I'm aware that I'm only useful in combat, but... Right? He looks at me as if asking for my consent, but I pretend not to notice. It's too frightening for a mere maid to answer. Instead, let me introduce you to a competent soldier. The name is Nono Heelsti. She is an excellent rider who is skilled in handling flying dragons and can make calm decisions even under unforeseen circumstances. Oh, that's great. I was just thinking of riding the flying dragon. Flying dragon? I've never ridden a flying dragon before. I've been living in the countryside of the Demon King's territory all my life, and I've never even ridden a monster. Well, then, let's go that way. Yes, she seems to like riding flying dragons, so she should be happy to accept it. Oh, got it. Ah, please avoid talking about the healing magician to her too. Is she too? As I thought, he's a dangerous guy. After exchanging such conversation, we leave Hanasama's quarters and immediately head to our next destination, the stables where flying dragons used during the war are kept and other monsters are bred. It seems that it is not far from the quarters where Hanasama was, so we soon arrived at the stables. There are only well-behaved glow wolves and regular horses. I decided to look more carefully, and as I looked around the stables with Koga-san for the target person, I finally found a flying dragon that seemed to be a flying dragon. Oh, there they are. A flying dragon. Yes. A red body with sharp fangs. Its wings, which seem to be integrated with its arms, and its tail are so large and powerful that a mere bump could cause serious injury. Slightly pressured, we go closer and notice a single demon race figure beside the flying dragon. The demon woman was stroking the growling flying dragon with her eyes narrowed as she spoke to him about something. Sean. I'm sorry. I haven't been able to feed you well. And you haven't been flying well lately, have you? Jaya. I know. I want to fly. I understand. I know how you feel. She is extremely sympathetic to flying dragons. Surprised by her trusting relationship that was so obvious to see, Koga-san approached her. You are Nono Heelsti, right? Who the hell? What, Commander Koga? I am not thinking of an escape plan? I was just thinking about taking him for a little walk. That's a beautiful self-destruct, oi. I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear that, so listen to me. She seems to be a funny person again. I watched the conversation between Koga-san and Nono Helisti-san while feeling a little tired. When she hears about this escort mission of mine, her eyes light up a little. I'll take it. If I can fly with this child again, I'll go anywhere. If you want, we could surprise attack the Lingal Kingdom like this. We can do it now. That's a very attractive idea, but not possible from my position. Unfortunately. Shouldn't this person stop being the commander of the Second Corps? If that were to be done, even I would have to go to the Kingdom of Lingal. This time, I just need you to go to the place I instructed properly. Yes. Sean. I did it. Jayururu. Nono-san jumps up and down and reveals her joy, and the flying dragon called Sean sniffs with satisfaction at seeing her. I wonder what it is. Could it be that the soldiers of the Demon King's army are a bunch of weirdos? My head hurts at the fact that I couldn't see it because I was a maid. Ha, why did Demon King Sama ask me? I think many times I am just a demoness who is entrusted to be Demon King Sama's maid. Although I am aware that Demon King Sama trusts me, as far as I am concerned, I have never even used magic, and I have only ever held a knife. I wonder what Demon King Sama expects me to do. Although I could see that it was definitely meaningful, for once I felt a little bitter at the lack of explanation from Demon King Sama, who was a little less talkative than usual. Sorry I made you wait. This time, it will be Norn's point of view in Mialak. ******. Kurha Fountain. A mysterious spring guarded by the royal family of Mialak. One sip of the fountain will give you immense power, but at the same time it is dangerous, destroying the bodies of those who drink from the fountain. Such a dangerous spring, which is nothing but a danger, creates a fantastic sight in the cave where a faint light shines through. Falgasama. Is it about time that Leona and the others entered the Demon King's territory? Looking at the unchanging scene of the underground cavern in my eyes, I ask this question to the divine dragon, Falgasama, who is quietly meditating. Norn, don't worry so much. Leona is a capable hero. She is as good as any of the heroes of the Kingdom of Lingal. But his voice is as gravely as ever. You can hear the trust in Leona in his voice. Even for me, I believe in her power, but when I hear that she is going to fight the Demon King, it is impossible for me not to worry about her as a friend. She does not fight alone. There are two heroes from the Lingal Kingdom and Usato. They all have different personalities and they all have different strengths. Of course, they have their weaknesses, but they have a bond that can make up for it. From Falgasama's point of view, what was your impression of the two heroes? It is said that when Falgasama entrusted the armament to the heroes, he flew his divided consciousness for a short time and attempted to have a conversation with them. They were in the middle of a battle, so they did not exchange many words, but I am sure that Falgasama would have grasped the personality of the heroes in that short period of time. Impression? Hey! Kazuki was a very pure boy, which is rare nowadays. He was full of a sense of justice, genuinely caring for his friends, and in a sense, had a temperament similar to that of Karen. A person like Karen. Perhaps the perception of him is that he is a good-natured, friendly person. Because of my position as queen, I have never seen him in a casual attitude, but Leona tells me that he has a nice personality and is adored by everyone. Although he is now retired due to the after effects of his power as a dragon that went out of control, I still hear a lot about his activities. On the other hand, however, Hiro Kazuki is mentally fragile. Anxiety about his own power and insecurity and fear in battle. No, this does not mean that Hiro Kazuki is weak, but it is normal. Then, Falgasama takes a deep breath. As far as I can tell, is it safe to say that Hiro Kazuki is a nice young man? Regarding the hero Suzuan. I don't know how to put it into words. To the extent that Falgasama is troubled? Falgasama closes his eyes and tilts his large head in distress. I have exchanged a few words with her, and she is a very lively person. Although she has a natural talent for battle and analytical skills that allow her to respond flexibly and make decisions, but I don't know if she is trying to drown her fears or not, but even in the midst of battle, she is a person who is constantly joking around and refining her movements with unexplained excitement. After all, she even recognizes the weakness of her own armament as an advantage. Who can say that this is not strange? Edo. She is a contrast to the hero Kazuki. It's quite unusual for Falgasama to have such a tired expression. Frankly, it's beyond my ability to understand that. I don't know if it's her origin from another world or if it's simply just her, but I'm sure there are very few who can hold the reins of that. Are you going to say that much? Hiro Suzuan, who is evaluated to that extent by Falgasama. She is frightening in many ways. Two heroes. Usato, an unorthodox healing magician, will be added to this. Just hearing the words makes me think it's kind of crazy. It feels a little strange to have a healing magician join the heroes. When you learn the reality of the person Usato, though, you will have a different kind of strange feeling. With them, Leona will be fine. No, maybe for Leona, she is motivated when Usato is around. Phew, that's true. After Karen incident, Falgasama began to joke occasionally. I don't know if he recognized me as a queen, but it is a pleasant change for me. Falgasama. Suddenly I notice that Falgasama is silent, as if in thought. After a short silence, Falgasama opened his big mouth. There was one thing that concerned me. After using the connection as an armament and trying to have a conversation with two heroes, I now have a certain concern. Concern. It's about Usato's gauntlet. Why is Usato's gauntlet talked here? If I'm not mistaken, it should have been remade based on the katana used by the previous hero. It is fundamentally the same, but it is different from the armaments of the two heroes. The katana was originally one of a pair of katanas used by the previous hero, the young man. In order to seal up the evil dragon, the half of me that once tried to destroy everything, the young man thrust his katana into the heart of the evil dragon and sealed up the dragon's soul as well. I heard that story before, is there something wrong with it? To my question, Falgasama reacts with hesitation. The soul of the evil dragon is unclean. You mean it's dirty? Even after hundreds of years, the soul of an evil dragon that has not faded away and is still trying to spread death with its destructive impulse cannot possibly be sane. That much will, that much hate, that much obsession, that much desire to kill, that much fearlessness is far beyond what we can imagine. That is why, in the process of making Usato's katana into a gauntlet, I tried to purify the unclean mind of the evil dragon, but when I touched Usato's katana, there was not the slightest trace of evil in it. Isn't that a good thing? Yeah, but it sure doesn't make sense. There is no cloudiness at all in the katana that continued to hold down the soul of the defiled evil dragon. If the young man's seal was that strong, that would be fine. But what if Falgasama, who had paused his words, uttered those words as if to persuade me strongly. If the evil dragon's pollution is heading somewhere else through the katana, then the situation is far more serious than we had assumed. After all, this is an extraordinary situation that not even the young man could have anticipated. Isn't it overthinking? I hope so. But things don't always roll in the right direction. Only Usato and his friends have actually seen the evil dragon. It is hard to imagine how terrifying and fearsome it is, but being a divine dragon like Falgasama, it must be a monster with extraordinary power. A katana of the previous hero who was touched by the soul of such an evil being. Do you know where the other katana is? No, the young man has another one hidden away somewhere. Hid it. Maybe he was afraid it would be misused, or maybe he simply gave it away. No one knows where it is. Anyone who has ended up where he's come to has closed his mind and given up trusting others. After uttering that much, he closed his mouth as if he remembered something. No, there was a single person. Was there someone that the hero had opened his heart to? I don't know about that. But there was only one person close to him who followed him. That's new to me. At least, I was told that the hero was acting alone, so I was honestly surprised by Falgasama's words. The first beast folk to be given a name by the hero. The first generation time reader who could foresee even the parallel future, and one of the strongest swordsmen in swordsmanship. Time reader. Tokiyomi. Despite my other concerns, the first person I thought of when I heard those words was Amako, the girl next to Usato. Her name was Kanagi. She's still as cheeky a little girl as I can remember. He closed his eyes as if thinking about a distant memory, and said so. Name Koga Dingle. Race Demon. System Darkness, Beast. He is a young warrior who is the commander of the second corps of the Demon King's army. Despite being not much older than Usato and the others, he has been recognized for his abilities and has been entrusted with the position of commander of the second corps of the Demon King's army. Abandoned by his parents as a child and left behind in a forest inhabited by monsters, he has lived alone, fighting his way through life. Having grown up knowing little about anything other than fighting, he had come to find no enjoyment in anything else. Although he joined the Demon King's army in search of battle, he felt bored, but as soon as he met Usato, he unilaterally regarded him as a good opponent and looked forward to the day when they would fight again. The magic he uses is dark magic. His dark magic, which has the characteristic of being a beast, clings to his body like armor, pushing his own physical abilities to the limit. It is an all-round type that can apply its abilities and extend its tentacles and spines to deal with mid-range opponents. By imitating the technique of outburst of system strengthening in his second fight with Usato, he learned the same fighting style as Usato and caused Kazuki a lot of trouble with his transforming movements and attacks. Although he lost his left arm in the fight with Kazuki, it did not hurt him much because he immediately generated his own left arm with his magic. No one, including his parents, understood Koga at all. However, Usato, who had uncovered his beastly nature in the battle at Hinomoto and resolved to fight with an understanding of it, had become a man of understanding for Koga, although not in the same form as he had been with Farum. Name Nono Heelsti. Race Demon. System unknown. She is a subordinate of Hana and a soldier of the Demon King's army who is a flying dragon user. Since her childhood, she has dreamed of flying with a flying dragon and volunteered to join the Demon King's army. After a fateful encounter with Shan, a flying dragon that had been assigned to her, she came to be regarded as one of the best flying dragon users in the Demon King's army. This attracted Hana's attention and led to her being selected as a subordinate. After being captured by the Lingal Kingdom, she escaped with Shan, taking Hana with her, seeing an opening created by the Demon King's large-scale magic. They returned to their allies while avoiding the fireballs that rained down from the sky. She is traumatized by Yusato, though not as much as Hana. ****.